This is a real cacti. Yes. Shit. It's cool, eh? I had to somehow figure out how the cactus was going to be in my podcast. Okay, cool. Let's start. Believe it or not, I don't actually enjoy this part of YouTube. I prefer being behind the camera. But here we are. Hello, everybody, and welcome to my very first podcast that I'm going to be releasing here on my YouTube channel. So the purpose of this is to expand on some of the content that I am already creating and to bring in some interesting people and have conversations with them. And what better person to kick off this new podcast journey of mine than my brother, Jonathan Hainsworth. Jono, look into the camera and say, how's it to everybody?
How's it, everybody?
Everyone just needs to know this is our first podcast, so we're going to try our best not to be awkward and try and be as normal and natural as possible. That's sort of our goal today. We definitely do have some talking points that we want to cover.
For sure.
So I'm going to stop addressing my audience now and probably just start talking to you, focusing on my guests. So you're going to pour us some coffee, maybe just to get the party started. Where did we learn that term
I
again?
don't know where that came from.
Let's get the party started. Probably from the spur. So just so everyone knows, I'm also going to be controlling the sound. We've got a lot going on here. This is also the office. Ooh, that thing's not. Sometimes you just lift it a little bit.
No, it's going.
Oh, is it going? Okay.
It's going slowly, so it doesn't come
Okay. Just to add here, Jonathan was living in Sudan for quite a while, and they're quite famous for their coffee there. So I thought, what better person to leave the coffee to than Jonathan?
Easier than lighting a fire on the floor and brewing a pot, I tell you.
In the desert. We're definitely going to get into more of that very shortly. There we go. Very nice. I think I put a spoon in one of them, huh?
Yeah, got it. Yeah.
Cool. That's looking good.
How much? Full.
Yeah, let's make them full. Cool. So like I was saying, this podcast is also being recorded in my editing studio. I've got a pretty cool setup here. We're going to have access to Google Earth on the screen that you can see in the wide, so that Jonathan can talk us through some of the places. I have introduced you as an exploration geologist.
No.
I haven't, eh? Okay, cool. So we probably should definitely let people know what you do. So, in fact, I'm not going to do it. I actually want to hand over to you. And if people are wondering why there are these very interesting looking rocks on the edge of the desk here, it is because Jonathan, my brother, is an exploration geologist here in Africa. Tell us a little bit about that. Let's. But before we get into the crux of why you're here today, which is escaping Sudan. Is that the right word? Escaping? Fleeing? Did you escape? Did you flee?
I think fleeing is probably... Well, we didn't... we'll get into it, but we did decide to leave. But it was half evacuation, half leaving, half fleeing.
But you had to get out.
We had to get out. Unfortunately.
Beautiful. So let's begin. Let's start from the beginning, because I think you've got a very interesting job. I've always said it. I love listening to you speaking.
Thank you.
I love going to different parts of South Africa with you and listening to you breaking down the geology of the area, looking at rocks and telling us the history of that part of the earth. So without further ado, how did you get onto this path?
Yeah, it all started when, I don't know, people always have these stories that, when I was young, I had this vision that I want to be this person or become what I want. But for me, it just really boiled down to wanting to be outside, try and get a job where I can be outside and work in the sun.
I wonder if it had something to do with us being outside as kids.
Maybe.
Because I really feel that we were part of that last generation. Or I'm sure there's definitely kids who still play outside in South Africa, but we were part of that last true generation that were always outside on our bicycles, making cuck in the streets.
Coming inside when the street lights came on.
And sometimes not even.
Yeah.
And maybe we can get into some of those stories growing up in our neighborhood here in Alberton. But please.
But yeah, so just wanted to be outside. And, I played a lot of sport growing up, a lot of cricket. And that's a long time outside each time you play. So I just wanted to to experience that working. And being a geologist, of course, there are times where you have to work in an office because that's just the way the world works these days.
Yeah.
And
Cricket.
yeah, cricket. Then just being outside and like I was saying, sometimes you have to work in the office because you got to get your data in and figure out what you're seeing.
And that's where you started. I mean, let's get specific here.
Yeah, I started. So
Let's start where you studied. Where did you study to become an exploration geologist?
yeah, so I studied at Wits University for 5 years.
Yes.
I took a little bit longer than usual to finish, but I got there in the end. Some would call it a victory lap.
Jono did a victory lap at university. For those that don't know what a victory lap is, some years at university are so nice you have to do them twice.
First year was the best 2 years of my life, but
Oh, lovely. No regrets though.
no regrets. No.
You had some good times.
It's a humbling experience failing, coming out of university, or coming out of school and never having
Yes.
failed at a subject before.
And that was first year. So to be clear, you failed your first year of university.
I didn't fail my whole first year, just one subject.
Jono failed one subject,
failed
which
chemistry. I failed chemistry.
Okay.
And without chemistry, I couldn't advance further with geology until I had redone it, which I did. And
Got you.
yeah, it's just a humbling experience, and eventually knuckled down and got through geology and really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was tricky. Joining the working world was weird to start. I had to make a decision what I wanted to do, but struggled to find work initially. Well, not struggled, but I was in university and a company approached us saying they need some people for a project that started. And I said, just try and get my foot in the door, as someone might say.
Yes. Yes.
And
The name of that company?
the name Shango Solutions. That's where I've worked now for 6.5 years.
Very good.
They're a geological consultancy based in Johannesburg.
And that's a long time. You worked there 6.5 years for your first job out of university. I think that's a long time.
Yeah, it's a lot longer than a lot of people I know. I mean, I started there with 5 other people, and all of them left within the first 1.5 years, 2 years.
Yes.
And but it's not uncommon these days for young people to change jobs very quickly. But for me, I feel like we've got a bit of a older school mentality. I like being loyal, sometimes too loyal, but I think it's a good value to have.
I also think so.
Just allowing people to trust you. And for me, the big thing is developing relationships with people, colleagues, mentors. If you don't afford yourself the right time to spend with people, you don't really get to know the real people you're working with.
Yeah, I agree. Even in my own career, progressing through, you really do learn that those relationships are important for your career if you want to progress. So yeah, I hear you.
No, it's not even just for career progression. It's just, understanding what the previous generation has done. What was it like for them when they started working?
Yes.
Because it's vastly different now than what it was 30, 40 years ago for the people that I work with.
Yeah.
Different country, literally a different country in South Africa.
Yes.
So yeah, what were we saying? Been with Shango now?
Been with Shango, been very loyal. It's also very important to note that a lot of people, especially me, when I think of an exploration geologist, and like we mentioned in the beginning of this podcast, you work outside. But that wasn't the case for the first
year.
First year, you were in an office. And I remember I used to, when I was still living in Thailand, I used to phone you and you were in this dark, dingy office somewhere in
Joburg. It wasn't an office. It was a
warehouse.
It was a warehouse with no windows.
A warehouse with no windows, and we'd have conversation. You'd be there logging. I don't know what were you doing?
So what that place was, it was the Anglo-Val exploration data repository.
Okay.
So Anglo-Val was a very big mining company in South Africa during the 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s.
Yes.
And even further back, perhaps, I'm not sure.
Yes.
And they did a lot of exploration work in that time. And this room was filled with all of their data, reports, maps, raw data, but thousands. It was a huge room. There were thousands of files, thousands of pieces of data just to go through. And
From when? From
yes, the
60s, 70s?
I found things from the 1930s, 1940s in there. So a long time.
That's crazy.
Yeah, very, very old.
Very
Old school stuff, but looked after well.
Yeah.
You know, because that really is the product that you are sort of creating when you do exploration is a report.
Yes.
But nowadays, and back in the day, you had to be very, you know, everything was more pen and paper. So maps were very valuable. That's where all your money sort of is displayed. You know, what are you presenting on a map? What have you drawn?
Yes, yes.
Where's the results? But nowadays it's all computerized, so we're lucky we don't have to have these huge rooms filled with paper.
Everything's on a hard drive now, on a cloud, or in an app.
You could probably fit all of those reports and everything in there if it was Word documents and images onto a SD card.
That's crazy.
It's, you know, it just goes to show you where we've come.
With technology. Yeah, I saw, just on a quick, you talk about an SD card. You know, I'm in the camera world. You now get a 1 terabyte SD card. So a little SD card that goes into a camera, 1 terabyte. It's wild, eh?
Unreal.
Yo, these vapes are fantastic. Weapons grade, ladies and gentlemen. You won't find these at an engine. Let's just put it that way. So yes, you were saying very interesting. So
yeah, we were stuck in that. Not stuck. That was where we were placed in the project.
I love it. You said
there were 5 of us that started together.
Yes.
And we essentially had to just index all of the data to see what was there, see if anything was of value. Well, the thing is, Shango, they had another project going. I can't really say where the mine is because it's just quite a secret project.
No, please, and I know there's a lot. Is part of your work that is confidential, so don't feel pressured to talk about.
And they were
that stuff.
So they were looking for specific data, historic data for this old mine, and they were convinced that this data resided somewhere in this room.
Yes.
We just had to unearth it, and we spent just over a year going through all this data, and we found nothing. We didn't find what they were really looking for.
Mm-hmm. So
then we had to decide, what are we going to do with all this sort of a database we've created? How are we going to, you know, they've invested millions into this now, you know, paying these people, us young guys, to categorize all this data. And eventually we decided we can try and sell some of the data to some existing properties.
Oh, interesting.
Existing mines. But that also proves to be quite challenging because the data belongs not to Shango but to now African Rainbow Minerals, which is a mining house.
Yes.
So they own the data.
Oh, interesting.
And some of the mines, some of the data that we have, there was supposed to be handed over to a company that bought the data historically, but because this repository wasn't indexed, no one knew where it all was. So we unearthed some more of this data. And there was a back and forth about how much do they want to pay for this data, and eventually it agreed upon, and we got some money back, pretty much covered all the costs of getting the project up and running and getting that data in. And yeah, since then I haven't really been involved with that much anymore. I don't know what's going on there, but it still exists.
Because you spent a year there, and that was where the real exploration geology then began. Is that fair to say?
No. Then I right at the end of that, in the beginning, at the end of my first year, then in January, they gave me one of my bosses, a senior in my company. His name was Rinus van der Sluys, a Dutch guy, very interesting character. Well, all the guys I've worked with are interesting characters.
Yeah, I can lay testament to that. I've met some of the people that Jonathan works with, and I'm from the television and film industry, and there's some pretty wild people there, but there's also definitely wild, interesting characters in your world, which we can get into. Some of those people.
So yeah, he took me to a chrome mine in where was it, Limpopo, near a little village called Tsibeng.
Okay.
And there they were doing open cast mining of chrome, and that's where I first started working as a geologist, you know, applying what I learned in varsity
Yes.
to what I'm seeing in the ground, and vastly different experiences. I realized quite quickly that having studied and applying that to working, especially in geology, is really different. Because people speak of geology as being a very young science. So, a lot of the concepts are always evolving.
What does that mean? What do you mean?
So all the concepts are always evolving. It's a 100-year-old science, whereas things like physics and those things have been around for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
Geology hasn't been around for all that long, considering.
Yeah.
So people are still discovering new things.
Little toppies there, or you do?
No, your little toppies is fine. Like, for example, we just submitted my first research paper that I'm actually a co-author on.
Cool.
We just submitted it now, like last week.
Yes. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, we can get into that. I don't know how much I can probably, we can talk when they've presented it at conferences, but it's an interesting paper. It's if it's real, what we found, what we think.
Yes.
So what it is we digress here, but it's fine.
No, it's fine.
What it is we think we found ejector material from the Fredefort impact structure. So
wow.
So I think it's 2.02 billion year old Fredefort impact. You know about the Fredefort impact?
I know about it, but for the people who don't know, give us a little. In fact,
let's have a look. I'll show it. I'll show you where it is.
Let's start incorporating a little bit of our media over here.
Let me get onto Google Earth.
Yeah, let's go Google Earth.
We've now, in this paper, we describe what they term proximal ejector material.
So you essentially, just so people know, you essentially have found substance from a meteorite.
No, not a substance from a meteorite, like the material that gets thrown away, like when the meteorite impacts,
yes,
and there's dust and debris.
Yes,
it's called ejector. It's called an ejector blanket.
When it makes impact with the earth.
When it makes impact with the earth, it releases material. It's called an ejector blanket.
Okay.
You go look on the moon. If you look at the moon, you can see those craters.
Yes.
If you look around them, there's material all concentrically around them. That's the ejector blanket. And now that material can, with the size of the meteorite that Fredefort was.
Yes.
I must just double check my facts, but I know that they've only found 2 sites on Earth where this material exists. I think one is I'm not sure, I must double check. I think one's in Canada and one is in Serbia or Russia. That's where they found material.
Yes.
That's far away from where we are now. But remember, 2 billion years ago, the continents were in different positions.
That's very interesting.
So now this is the first time everyone has ever proposed that there's ejector material from the Fredefort impact in South Africa.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So that's what your papers are about?
Yeah, but that's what it's about.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. And the reason they say, I'll tell you the story how it came about.
Please do.
Unless you want to...
Let's, but before we get into it...
Let's continue with my story, how I'm working.
No, before you do that, I want people to actually see where the meteorite hit Earth.
Yeah, we'll get back to it. Let me just finish how I got into exploration.
Okay,
and
awesome.
Then we can get into that.
Lovely, let's do that.
So like I was saying, I worked on the mine with Renus, in a chrome mine.
Yes.
And then from there, we started, it was weird. Like, before I came to Shango Solutions to work, there was almost no exploration work happening in that company. For like 6 years, no one really did exploration.
Yeah.
So all the young people coming in that wanted to do exploration didn't get that opportunity to do it. So I think that's why a lot of them left, especially young. There were a couple of young guys like myself there, but I think I was a bit more patient than what they were. I gave it a chance.
Tough times never last. Only tough people last. That's one of my favorite videos.
And then all of a sudden, after that first exploration, first project was in, where was it? It was in Potgietersrus, now known as Mokopane.
Oh, wow.
We went and drilled for chrome on a very old chrome operation called Grass Valley. And we intersected tiny 10 centimeter thick pieces of chrome, which is, for chrome standards, is terrible. You can't mine it. It needs to be a meter thick, 60 centimeters. And you can mine it in an open cast. So it was a bit of a flop. 1 rig, 2 geologists. It was old Chinese rig that they had there was breaking down. the clutch would break.
Yeah.
You know, and that really got me to understand exploration. Exploration is just tough work. It's, you know,
no, for sure.
It's
You're
remote.
out.
It's remote. You have to.
You're out in the sun.
Just have to. No, but you
in
just
the
have to
rain.
figure out how to fix things. Because it's not like you're working in Joburg or somewhere. Something breaks. Oh, call a guy.
Yeah.
You have to be the guy.
So you become part mechanic while you're out there.
A jack of all trades,
Jack of all trades.
master of none.
And that saying actually doesn't end there. Did you know that? There's actually more to that saying, which goes, a jack of all trade, a master of none, is better than he who only knows one.
Ah.
So for a long time, people used to think that it was best to only know one skill, to only specialize in one thing. But testament to being out in the world, out there, you need to be a jack of all trades. Otherwise, if something breaks down, you're fucked.
You get left behind.
You get left behind.
Yeah.
And even in my industry now, it's almost not good enough to only know how to shoot and to only know how to edit. A lot of us are multi-skilled, you know.
That's the world we're living in at the moment.
Yes, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Let's show people this.
We'll get
Are we getting
We're
there?
getting there. Let me.
Sorry, I'm jumping the gun
It's
because
fine.
I'm getting so excited because I love looking at the Vredefort impact on Google Earth. It's such a cool thing.
So then I started. So after that exploration in Potgietersrus, it all started. And then our company just all of a sudden started getting these exploration projects. And because I was there for the first one, like I was the guy now. So I always got put onto these projects. Obviously, I also told them, my directors, that listen, I'm keen to do some computer stuff and all of that, but I want to handle the rocks because I feel that was one of my strong suits, like physically identifying rocks. There's an old saying that the best geologists in the world have seen the most rocks.
I love that.
So
yeah.
I sort of live by that. That's sort of my mantra. That's why I like collecting rocks on all the projects I do. It's not just for prettiness. I like collecting rocks for examples of what things look like. So you always have a reference to it. And I did the same thing now in Sudan, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll definitely get into the meat of that.
And
Something that I also
Yeah.
loved about, you know, knowing you over the past couple of years, because almost everyone around you has also developed this love for beautiful rocks, because you come back from all of these places in Southern Africa and also now Northern Africa, and you gift people with rocks like we've got over here, and we'll talk about some of these rocks because these are some of your favorite rocks. Because people think rocks are just rocks.
That's the thing. A lot of people think rocks are just rocks.
A rock is a rock.
A rock is a rock, but every rock tells a story. That's the beauty of it.
Every rock tells a story.
No matter how big it is, it's got a story to tell you. That's the beauty of rocks, really. Doesn't matter if it's as small as you're looking at it in a microscope, or it's a massive boulder or mountain. Each one can tell you something. And then, what happened then? Yeah, so then all the exploration work happened, and then, but these were all very small programs, in like 1-2 rigs operating.
Yes.
Not a very big team.
Yes.
Also a little bit disorganized. It wasn't what I expected it to be initially.
Yes.
It was, how did I explain? Like, it just all felt very informal for me initially. So I wasn't sure if this was exactly how the industry does it, or this is how Shango does it. So you sort of had to learn things on the fly, like how to do things properly, develop your own systems and that sort of thing. But then the big project came when we went to the Northern Cape. We got called by African Rainbow Minerals, who has a subsidiary company called Assmang, and they were they have mining currently in the Northern Cape, and they were doing some exploration on some smaller properties to increase their resources.
Focusing on mining what again? In the Northern Cape?
They
Iron.
mine iron ore. That's their primary commodity. And
Yes.
they also mine manganese. So it's iron manganese is their operations there. So then that project was the real long-term, far away from home project I had to do, because it's almost 700 kilometers from Joburg.
We can show people that too. A lot of people, if this is your first time hearing about the Northern Cape, it is a huge province here in South Africa. It's vast. I've actually got a very, very cool video that we can play people, because I came to visit you in the Northern Cape, which was awesome.
Yeah.
And I came to see what you were doing out there, and it was fascinating. And I got some really cool footage of you collecting samples in the field.
Yeah, I think they showed that video to the board. The African Rainbow Minerals board got to see
Let's
that.
let's find that video, because we're here talking about the Northern Cape.
Okay.
I want to give people visuals. I want to make this
Okay.
podcast also a visual experience for people. But so far we're cruising. We're 28 minutes into our first podcast already.
Goes by quick.
It's amazing. It's awesome. It's lekker, eh?
Yeah, it is lekker.
As long as you just keep it...
You got to keep it casual.
You just keep it casual. We're keeping it casual, folks.
All right. Ah, the Zoom is set.
Audio sounds good. I'm going to make a little cat sound.
What's that?
I can make sound, ladies and gentlemen. I've got like a soundboard here, which is quite cool.
Is this thing mouse wheel? Okay.
If the batteries are flat, I can get some new battery. I don't think so. Should work. Gonna have to just use that. All right, Southern Africa.
Yeah, so this is it. There's obviously Joburg, Pretoria. Yeah, Joburg. The Northern Cape. So what we're discussing here. So where I had this big project, if you look at this, you can see there's a geological feature running through here. You can see that coming down there.
Yes.
So that is a metamorphic terrain. What it is, yes, I should know this. I'm not 100% sure. I think it's part of the Namakwa. No, it's not the Namakwa Natal area. I think it's called the Ariaka belt. I must double check that actually. But yeah,
And for a lot of people who've never been to the Northern Cape, how would you describe the terrain and the climate?
No, it's a desert. It's pretty much a desert.
It's a desert.
It's desert, dry. So you were asking about the environment. So it's so weird. It's honestly the strangest thing. It's like it's been following me my whole career. Is rain. Every place I've ever gone to go and work, whenever we get there, it's dry. It's dry. People are saying it's drought. It's terrible. And every time, middle of a project, it starts raining and it becomes this lush landscape. Everywhere I've gone, even now in Sudan, it was the biggest rains they've had in a very long time.
Wow.
In the desert. In the Northern Cape, they had their 50-year flood when we were there.
That is very
So,
interesting.
It's just weird. It's just the rain has been following me. Maybe you're probably just a huge coincidence. But yeah. So yeah, this is the area we worked in.
So here we are in the Northern Cape. And you can see just from this aerial shot how red the terrain is.
Yeah. So I'll get into that. Let's just turn, what is this? Borders and places. So I pointed. So this is Postmasburg. This is where I stayed.
That's where you were based.
Yeah, a small little dorpie in the middle of nowhere.
And tell us again how many years you spent working in Postmasburg.
So this was in total we spent 17 months there.
It's a long time.
Yeah, it was a hell of a long time. But it was a project that ran on schedule. As far as schedule goes, it was really good. But it's because we were doing work for a very big company, being African Rainbow Minerals. So they've got budgets, they've got boards, they've got people. There's a lot of money being spent here, so we had to make sure we kept on budget.
Yes.
Well, that's one of Shango's catch lines is OTOB squared. I think it is OTOB. On time, on brief, on budget. Jochen will be happy I remembered that.
Nice one.
So, yeah, we stayed in Postmasburg.
And I remember I came to visit you in Postmasburg, a very small town. Is poor the right word? I mean, it's not the.
It depends who you are. Some might just call it a shithole. But for me, the small towns are obviously not like Joburg. It's clean, but it's not clean. But for me, I like the simple life. I liked it.
It was simple. That's probably a better way to
Yeah,
describe. I don't want to describe it as poor. I think it's simple.
Yeah.
Simple. We sat at a pub and drank, and there was a herd of goats that walked past the pub. Like that kind of thing goes on in the town.
Yeah.
And I hear you. I love it. I love the small towns off the beaten track in Southern Africa. I love the way things operate there. It's different. And I know you love it.
Yeah, there was a saying that you meet guys in the bar. The saying is, when you come to the Kalahari or Portsmouthburg, you cry twice. Once when you arrive and once when you leave.
That's fantastic. And I remember the meat.
The meat.
The meat was absolutely delicious. The beef.
I still haven't had beef like that to this day.
It was delicious. It was delicious. And tell people why it was delicious.
Yeah, so... Well, yeah, you know, man. So Portsmouthburg is a huge cattle farms.
Yes, so besides the mining, there's a lot of cattle
There's
farming.
a lot of cattle farming and game farms.
Yes.
You can meet those guys in the bar.
Correct. Their family owned a game farm.
So, yeah, big cattle farms, and they produce a lot of export quality meat.
Cattle for export, yes.
And then that export quality meat sometimes makes its way into the Pick n Pay, because that's the main butchery in town.
And that meat is some of the best. It's like top 3 meat I've ever had in my life, for sure. I remember we went there, when I came to visit you, we paid a visit to that very Pick n Pay, and we went straight to the red meat section. And we started putting meat in our shopping tray, our shopping basket. And you started putting T-bones into the basket. And I thought, okay, cool, that T-bone, and the T-bone you took was huge. It was, I think,
almost
a kilogram.
Almost a kilo,
just like 970 grams or whatever it was. And I'm like, cool, we're sharing T-bones tonight, Jono. And you looked at me and you said, no, we're having one of these each. And that's what we did. We went home and we bride these amazing T-bones, and I was blown away.
They were good. You even took a whole cooler bag full of meat.
I ended up the day before I left Portsmouthburg. I went to that Pick n Pay and I stocked up on red meat. I probably bought 2, 3, 4, 5 kilograms of red meat, T-bones, rump.
Took you a while to eat it as well. I remember you savored them.
I savored that steak. It was amazing, and it was quite cool. I was lucky because obviously I had to freeze some of it, and I don't like freezing red meat because it ruins the taste a little bit and the texture for me. But just with that meat, it was good, even on defrost. And I should also add that when I went to visit Jonathan, I was there for 2 nights. We bride on both nights, and one night was T-bones and the other night was a lamb rib. But we might have done rump as well, as a starter.
Yeah, on the plunky steak.
And that was where you showed me the technique of cooking steak directly on coals, and I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
We literally threw steak on red hot coals and we cooked it like that. Probably the same way I would imagine our ancestors cooked their meat, because they didn't have Webers.
No.
They didn't have Webers growing up.
No. Yeah, they had to throw, but that was also the trick I learned from a local oak.
In Portsmouthburg as well. Cooking your meat on the coals, I was blown away.
Chucking it on there.
And it worked, and it was delicious.
Yeah,
cut that into strips and then dipped it into different sauces on a tray.
Making me hungry.
Good Lord. Probably have to go get a steak after this.
For sure.
In Portsmouthburg.
Yeah, let's drive. It's only going to take us 7 hours.
Cool. So let's get back to it. We're 37 minutes in already, and we haven't even touched on Sudan yet, which is cool.
So this was Portsmouthburg. Well, this is Portsmouthburg. So as you can see, there's a lot of iron ore mining activity in this area, and the farm that we were drilling on is just out here somewhere, just around here. No lie. Come down towards. This is an Anglo-American mine called Columella.
Yeah.
And this mine over here is Beershoek. And I mapped this farm here as well. This is called Pensfontein. I mapped this entire farm. Found some iron ore around here as well.
Did you find iron?
Yeah, really. It's right next to this mine, so one can expect there to be iron there. And we found it. It's good, and apparently they are starting to mine there, but they're having funding issues.
I also visited the mine with you. We spent a day on the mine, and I was quite surprised by the amount of wildlife that was present on the farm as well. Tell us about
We
some
went
of
on
the.
game drives.
Let's get into that. Like I remember, obviously we're in southern Africa. As you would imagine, there's loads of animals out there in that barren landscape, which is amazing in and of itself. And I remember you had incredible sightings of things like kudu, big koran, which I believe is the heaviest flying bird. I think we looked that up.
Yeah, a lot of. We even did some night drives. We saw warthog, porcupine.
Did you see a porcupine?
Yeah,
at
two
night?
porcupine. We did one hectic. Yes, but the one. Probably, we took that. We were chasing. We were chasing this warthog with his Hilux, and we drove. Yeah. I was there with a friend of mine that I worked with. His name was Heinrich.
These are the stories
Heinrich
we
and
want, ladies and gentlemen.
Heinrich and I. Heinrich doesn't drink. He's.
And tell people who Heinrich was.
So Heinrich, he was a young guy that, well, he's not young, he's actually my age, but he was inexperienced, just out of varsity.
Yeah,
He couldn't find work.
Is it fair to say that you were his mentor?
No, I wouldn't say my mentor. But
Yeah, don't mind me looking into the camera. I'm always just making sure that I'm running things here.
And so we brought Heinrich in because we needed we had to employ a couple of extra geologists because the project that we were on was huge. There were, like I told you, I started with one rig. This project at a stage had 10 rigs running. 8 diamond core rigs.
Rigs as in
drill rigs
that drill that core, yes.
And then we also had 2 percussion rigs, which drill percussion holes, which they drill very quickly, 100 meters a day. And you have to go and log those little piles of chips that come out the ground. And so we needed more people.
It's amazing. While you talk about this, I'm actually just going to navigate to my hard drive here because I've actually got that video of the time. I put a little montage of my time in Postmasburg.
So yeah, Heinrich, we brought this guy in to, well, I mustn't say this guy is a good guy. We brought him in to come and assist with the project. And him and I, obviously, we're the 2 young guys there working together, living away from our families and loved ones. So
yes, I met Heinrich, great guy.
So we invariably become friends and we still talk to this day.
Yes.
Side note, he's currently in Saudi Arabia actually working.
Is he really?
Yeah. And so me and Heinrich, one night we decided to take the Hilux. He doesn't drink. So I was having a couple of bezzes and we decided to go and take a game drive on the farm we were working on. So we got into the Hilux, the company Hilux, and we drove straight to the farm at night. It was about 11 o'clock.
Yes.
We drove to the farm. And we opened the gate. Security knew who we were, obviously.
Yeah. You were coming in for to look for iron at night.
No. I told him straight we're coming on a game drive. And then you see the most incredible things at night. It's so weird. That whole vista just wakes up at night. It becomes it becomes this totally different landscape. And you're seeing, like I said, we saw warthogs. And that was when we saw that warthog, we decided to chase that thing down with a Hilux.
And what was it? Just running in the road?
It was just running. No, in the bush. We weren't on the road. We were off-road. And you can't see anything at night. And those, warthogs, they dig those deep, deep holes.
Yes.
And that front tire went into that hole. And I was standing at the back, on top of the car, hanging onto the bull bar. Not the bull bar, the roll cage bar in the back of the bucky. And Heinrich hit that hole, and the whole front left wheel went into the hole, poof, and I fell. We weren't going fast, but we went in.
But a hole's a hole. A warthog hole is a warthog hole. And the warthog went into that hole?
No.
Oh, okay.
We were moving around and it ran away and we went in. And then Heinrich got a huge fright. Oh, so did I, obviously.
I'm just going to log on to my Instagram. Pass that keyboard here. Go to Instagram for me.
And then Heinrich thought the car was damaged, but I mean, it's a Hilux, it's not going to get damaged. And then it was in rear-wheel drive and we couldn't get it out, but we eventually, we just put it into 4-wheel drive and reversed it out. And on our way back, that's when we saw the warthogs. Not the warthogs, the porcupine.
The porcupines.
And it was beautiful. We saw 2.
That's rare.
And I think they were babies. I wasn't sure, but there were definitely 2 large porcupine.
That's flipping awesome.
Is this your profile? Yeah, there you go.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we finally are into Instagram.
And Yeah, that was one of the wild stories out there.
That's fantastic. I love that. Hey, there's
Game bread.
Masvidal. Game
Game bread.
bread. Haha. All right, let's go to mine. I haven't been on Instagram for probably 3 or 4 months now. It's not on my phone, and now I had to. And I
No,
tried.
go home, go to profile. Yeah, I haven't. I've also up this stuff now.
Yeah, there's some cool things we can look at. So let's just scroll down on my Instagram. There we are.
There you go.
Cool. So we're going to play the video now of you and Heinrich
That's Heinrich with me, yeah.
out in Postmasburg. Let's have a look.
So my name's Jonathan Hainsworth. I'm an exploration geologist out here in the Northern Cape on an iron ore / manganese project. My responsibilities out here are to ensure that the logging and sampling of both the percussion and diamond drill holes is done correctly, and also do it myself and ensure that the exploration is done properly. Our main commodity is iron. We're looking for a mineral called hematite. We're also in the market for manganese, but it's not the priority.
See how green it is. It was, when we got there, it was dead. There was not a single green tree.
And then the drought ended.
Then it rained and it blossomed like that. It was unbelievable. Yes, I missed that place actually.
Does that bring back some? Watching that, does it
Yes.
bring back some good memories?
Very, very good memories.
Wow.
I loved that place. I enjoyed it.
I must say, I enjoyed it too, man.
I really, really enjoyed being there. It was a good growing experience for me. First time really out and about. You know, it's one of the things I always wanted to do with geology is
Yes.
go and work in a real
You wanted to
isolated.
explore.
I wanted to be in an isolate. I wanted to be as remote as possible.
Yes.
Because I hear all these stories from these guys I've worked with.
Yes.
And they all talk about these very remote projects that they've done where they go out and they're in the middle of nowhere with a satellite phone, and that's where the real geology happens.
Yes.
And I finally had that opportunity now in Sudan, which was really cool. But it was stripped away from me very quickly by these fuckers fighting in Sudan.
In Sudan,
Yes.
in Sudan, which we 100%
Yeah.
going to get into. But before we do that, here's another video that I took. This was a very special day because
Yeah, this was an academic.
I actually came to work with you and filmed a lot of that footage that we just watched on my Instagram of you busy taking samples. It was like in the morning, and then in the afternoon we came to this old. Is that right? Was it in the afternoon or was it?
This was the next day.
It was the next day. Did we take the whole day off?
No,
Or did
you're
you
right.
work?
We worked half day on the Saturday. You came on the weekends.
I believe
We usually
so.
worked half day Saturday
Yes.
till like 12, 1 o'clock, and then we came. Yeah.
And then so this was one of your recreational activities that you partook in here.
Yeah, so this was another farm. This was another operation. This was called Makanyeni, which they're actually still busy drilling with now.
Wow.
So they're still busy exploring on this project with Mbongeni. You
Are they
maybe
really?
met him.
Yes.
Yeah. So this was our other operation.
So they used to pull diamonds out of this.
So that, yes, that's an old kimberlite mine.
That's amazing.
They mine diamonds
And ladies
there.
and gentlemen, if you can look on the carefully inside the dam, you can see somebody swimming there, and that would be Jonathan.
No, that's Rob.
That's
That was
Rob. That's Jonathan in the boat fishing.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Tell people
place.
what fish were
Yeah, it was
inside here.
beautiful place, man. The water's crystal clear and it's clean. It's
Yeah, talk people through this.
so Rob was one of the senior geologists that was running this project, this
Yes.
Makanyeni project, and he used to come and hang out here at this dam when he was just wanting a break or during lunch.
And I'd just like to pause because
Actually, pause it. There's the kimberlite there, that white, yeah.
that white section is the kimberlite. And tell people what kimberlite is.
So kimberlite is a rock that they mine that hosts diamonds, and what it is, it's what they've postulated kimberlite to be is almost like a volcanic eruption.
Yes.
That doesn't really make it to surface.
Yes.
It's an eruption. It's an eruption below surface, but it's violent. It shoots up a magma from very deep in the mantle. The mantle is one of the layers of the earth,
Yes.
and it shoots up this layer, up, almost to surface into the host rocks around it. And it through a huge, I don't know whether if it comes up in a fissure or a weakness or a fault, but there's obviously has to be a plane for it to be able to move through. And what these kimberlites do is that because it's such a fast and violent geological episode, it rips up the pieces of rock that it's moving through. And it goes, so inside this kimberlite, you'll get what we call xenoliths. As in, a xenolith is a fragment which is large, it can be sort of a couple of centimeters to a couple of meters, of an alien rock. Well, that's not what the host rock is, a xenolith. So you've got a granite, and it's, no, let's not even use a granite. But say in the kimberlite, you'll get pieces of dike, pieces of sandstone, and what most interesting, where a lot of research is done, is pieces of actual mantle. What the fuck you laughing at?
I can't help it, dude. Pieces of dike. Might have to cut that, ladies and gentlemen.
So, disclaimer, dike is a geological term for a igneous rock that cross-cuts stratigraphy.
Got you.
Yeah.
I knew that.
So, yeah, so these kimberlites, they bring up pieces of mantle to surface. And a mantle can be as deep as, I think the mantle is like 10 to 15 kilometers in the shallowest portions. That's how you have to go through the crust to get to the mantle. So it's very deep. So getting a piece of mantle to do research on by drilling is almost impossible. But these give us that opportunity to study these pieces of mantle and understand, because the mantle is the source of all the rocks. That's where the magmas when the magmas get created and how they come to surface. It all starts in the mantle. Is that
the boiling pot of the earth?
No. It's the mantle. You have to consider it's semi-solid, so it can be liquid or solid.
That's fascinating.
But also solid.
So rocks, that's crazy. It's a concept that is difficult to comprehend, that rocks can be liquid, huh?
Yeah. It's called solid solution. And that's how they sort of explain it and understand it. So it's a rock, it's a hard rock, but it's behaving like a solution. And then as it cools, it changes its chemistry, because different minerals crystallize at different times in the magma. So you'll get your first minerals that'll come out. It's called Bowen's reaction series, I think.
Okay.
And so you'll get specific minerals. And as the minerals crystallize, the composition of the magma changes. So different elements will prefer to come out of a melt, and some will prefer to stay in the melt until the end. So
amazing.
And
amazing.
Then,
so they mined just that thin little piece of kimberlite there. That was where all the diamonds were.
And that's where the diamonds come from the mantle, because they formed under intense pressure and temperature. And that's also awesome. It's contentious. Diamonds are contentious topics of creation, but that's it. Yeah, that's called yellow ground. You get yellow ground and blue ground for kimberlites.
Let's get another video here. Look here, this is nice.
Yeah, so we were fishing for bass and tilapia there.
Largemouth bass.
Largemouth bass. We caught a couple.
We did catch a couple.
On fly, it was exciting.
And the tilapia were absolutely beautiful. In fact, I have got a shot of the tilapia here. We just need to find it. Being so silly. Oh, this is some cool footage actually.
They used to mine here.
Yeah.
What did they mine here? Also manganese.
Iron and manganese.
I think it was an iron pit. If I look at what rocks are around it, I think it's iron.
This was on our property. This was a very old iron ore mining area. I think this was mined sometime before the First World War.
Wow.
The Second World War.
This is all ferruginous, what you term ferruginous shale.
That's awesome.
They provided the manganese for steel creation for Germany.
Is that so?
Yeah, that's why it was Germans mining there.
See any fish there? Is he swimming in that
In the
Kimberlachtal?
There's all the kind.
Oh, look at this! Look at these rocks. Finding some specimens.
Yeah.
This is how Jonathan finds rocks when he goes and visits these amazing places. He actually goes out.
It becomes your lunchtime hobby.
That would have been my left. Essex. No. This is just a centerpiece for the Christmas dinner table.
Yeah. That's a nice one. That's a nice conglomerate. You can see the clasts in there. It's a beautiful rock.
And I remember these rocks had iron in them, so they are so heavy. It's unbelievable.
You take that to Dagestan and give it to those boys carrying the rocks up and down the mountain.
You're looking at some samples. Amazing. Come, let's see if we can. Oh, here we go. Here's Jonathan landing a fish. What specimen do we have?
A largemouth.
Fucking well done, lad. I got that whole catch on video. Nice.
Nice.
Yes, that is cool, eh? Well done. Largemouth bass.
You caught the tilapia, huh?
Yeah.
Stuff is all over the place, so you must just bear with me. Oh no, that's it. So it could be this video. I might just. Oh, there's me catching a fish. Oh, cool.
Yeah, a little gilliminky. They were nice. These fish, they were nice and aggressive, these fish. It was nice fighting them. Are you sure we got the tilapia on video?
Yes, that is cool.
I think we just took photos.
Sure. Do you think we just took photos? Okay. It's all good.
Yeah, this was a nice spot, eh?
It was a nice spot. This was where we based ourselves. Oh, and then these cows wanted to come through here.
Come and
Do you
drink.
remember that day? Look at them. They were a bit skeptical of us, though.
Yeah, I was always so worried that one would fall off the edge here
I know.
and go into the dam and the farmer would come and kick our ass. But they operate, eh? You can see cows, they had to survive at some point in the wild. So
It's incredible. I mean, it doesn't get more free range than these cows.
no, they operate. They're healthy looking cows considering they live in the Northern Cape.
They do look
I guess
good.
they are livestock. They probably fed them well. Here's our T-bone walking.
A walking, talking
A
T-bone.
walking, talking T-bone. That baby was scared.
Yeah, he was scared. Shame. It would have been such a disaster. It would have turned into a rescue mission, huh?
Oh gosh, I don't know.
Spent the whole day. Oh, there he goes. Or she. Rad. So that's Portsmouthburg. I mean, yeah. That's awesome. We also haven't shown people the Freda Fort
Yeah, so let's go.
impact crater, and then I think
Everyone
once
knows
we
what we're on about, yeah.
once we've covered, I mean, we can go on about. I think Portsmouthburg can actually be a podcast in and of itself.
Sure. We were there for a long time. Yeah, but let's try and just keep focused on the.
On the task at hand. All right, I'm going to hand back over to you.
Oh,
And I'm going to run to pee quickly, so just excuse me.
okay.
Cool. So Jonathan, just remind us where we are and what we're doing.
This is fascinating. I actually haven't looked at this myself. So, yeah, this was Portsmouthburg. This is where my real exploration career kicked off. So I've got a real love for this place. I had learned a lot, understood a lot started learning about the crux of what it means to be a good exploration geologist, and
Yes.
good work ethic out there and grafting hard, and also working with people and living with people all the time. That's also a big challenge,
Yes.
being thrust into a house or a guest house with people,
With your team.
and sometimes you don't like the people you're there with, and you have to live with them, eat with them.
Big brother.
Yeah, it can get quite tense. So it's good to
I
have
made a whole reality show about that concept.
but it's good to have hobbies. That's why you gotta that's why we collect rocks, Heinrich and I. Finding similarities with people, trying to get along.
Yes.
It's important for the teamwork. So yeah, so you can see all the red. This is mostly iron ore mining. So this mining operation here is called ringside. This whole farm coming here, like that, down there. So this mine was operating already, very small scale you can see compared to this. This is a tier 1 sort of mining op. This is a Beershoek mine. Beershoek. Been operating for a very, very long time. I think maybe like 30 years, 20 years. It's a very old mine.
And they're still pulling iron out of there.
Yeah, this pit over here was a new, one of their new pits. They called this village pit.
Wow.
And the reason they called it village pit was because the main road used to drive through here of the street, and there was the mining village where the people that worked in the mine they lived there.
Wow.
So they had to literally relocate the entire village, move everyone into Portsmouthburg, build new places, divert the main road. You can see the main road now runs here.
Wow.
And then, yeah, open up this pit that they term village pit.
That is incredible.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful...
All open cast, eh?
About 100 meters deep. It's unbelievable.
100 meters?
100 meters. It's fascinating. Yeah, you can see each... So these are benches you can see here. And each one of those benches, I think, in this mine was 10 meters high. One bench. 10 or 5 meters. 5 or 10 meters. Depends on the lithology. And that's them mining at the base. It's all iron ore down there.
Have you been here?
I've been in this pit, yes.
Have you stood at the bottom?
Yes, we went into the base.
Wow.
It's honestly, it's a marvel. But I mean, this pit is small compared to the stuff up north in Katu, where they're mining at the mine called Sishen, one of the world's most famous iron ore mines.
Yes.
That pit is, I think it's almost 200 meters deep, if I'm not mistaken. So,
wow.
It's serious.
200 meters deep, open cast.
I think so. I think so. So yeah, we were exploring on behalf of this company, Asmang, that owns this mine. They need to supplement their plant with ore so that they can continue producing.
Yes.
So to keep, it's quite interesting, to keep a mine operating for a long time, you don't just put your own ore through your plant, so you blend it. So you have to, the ore has to be at a specific percent, which in this case I think was between 60 and 62% iron.
And when you say iron, that is the percentage of iron per ton of rock.
Yeah,
what is that?
Fe2O3, which is hematite. So I think, yeah, Fe2O3, the iron content of the rock that you're selling has to be over 60%.
Okay.
That's you're selling it to Chinese generally,
Yes.
and you have contracts with them, and it has to be at that percent. Otherwise, they dock you. They pay you less. You get penalties if you don't meet the
Quality
requirements of the
control
grade.
standard.
They call it the grade. The grade needs
Okay.
to be there.
Gotcha.
So what people do is if you're mining, say, a high quality of like 65% iron in this pit, and you only have to produce or sell at 60%, what guys will do is they'll blend in lower grade material.
You call it blending. It sounds like you're watering the iron down.
Yeah, it's called blending. It's a very common practice in mining. And they blend the ore. So you take your lower grade ore that's running at like, say, 55%.
Yes.
And you blend it with your really high grade material. Then once it's all mixed up, when you sample it, you're still going to get to 60%.
That's fascinating. Yes.
So you're keeping your mine going for a longer time by doing this practice. And a lot of them, like I said, do it.
Yes.
So like I said, so they were looking for iron. So they bought this farm here, this entire property. Yeah, so you see from that corner down to there, and over there. That was the farm that we explored on. And it's quite long. I mean, from top to bottom, let's have a look. 6 Ks. So it's quite a big farm.
Wow. Oh, it's so cool how you can measure like that.
Yeah. So
So these farmers just sell pieces of their farm off to the mine.
yeah, this particular guy has got a lot of money now. I mean, they paid, I think, I don't know if I should say, but they paid a lot of money for this farm. They paid a hell of a lot.
A lot.
A lot. And this farmer, you know, it's his land,
Yeah.
but he owns, this is just a portion of his main farm.
Yes.
His farm is huge. It probably covers this whole area.
It's amazing.
And this portion was called Turner, and that was the name.
And that's where the mine that I was on.
Yes.
I remember. It was
So
awesome.
we drilled all over
What
this
a great
farm.
experience. And I've got also quite a wild story to tell. It was one of the other hobbies, other than going fishing in the Kimberlite mine, was going to the local pub and drinking and enjoying some pub cuisine. And I remember it was a Sunday and we couldn't find any open pubs.
No, nothing.
So we went to some godforsaken pub in the Postmasburg town. And
MC's.
Is that what the name of the town
MC's.
was?
No, that was the
MC's.
name of the pub.
The name of the pub. And I remember it had this outside patio area that overlooked, was it a river that was
Yeah,
there?
it's an old river, yeah.
There was an old river that flowed past it, and that is where we saw the herd of goats come through, and we sat there and we got so fucking rat-assed on double brandies and Coke. Can you remember that day?
Yeah, that's
How much were those double brandies and Coke? I think it was 30 Rand.
30 Rand for a double.
30 Rand for a double brandy and Coke. Yes, that's unbelievable. So it was 30 Rand for a double brandy and Coke. Those were the days where I was still open to smoking cigarettes. They only sold Peter Red loose
Single,
cigarettes because I would occasionally smoke when I was drinking. And I don't anymore. So now it's the occasional vape, which I bum off of you. And our bill came to something like 700 Rand.
Yeah, it was ugly.
And we didn't eat there.
Didn't even eat.
So you guys do the calculation, ladies and gentlemen. If cigarettes cost 2 Rand and double brandies and Cokes cost 30 Rand. And we also bought chips and peanuts.
Oh yeah, we bought some pub snacks. I forgot
We bought
about
some
that.
pub snacks, but essentially we had a lot of double brandies and Cokes that day. It was awesome.
Met some locals.
Met some locals.
Yeah.
We won't get into
No.
too many details there. I think that's where else in the story.
But yeah, it was lekker.
It was lekker.
And that was funny enough, that pub was always open in lockdown. You could always trust on that pub to stay open past curfew.
Just want to make an adjustment here. Hello.
Well, not past curfew, because
Yeah.
pubs there was a rule that they could only sell booze up until a certain time as well. They had to stop selling booze.
On a Sunday or?
No, after COVID.
Sorry, I remember.
There was a little period where people couldn't sell booze after like 6 or something.
I remember
But that place you could always trust to make a plan.
You could
Yeah, old MCs will
you could
always
pull in
be a
there for a
gem.
drink. It was lekker. Yeah,
Yeah, we
it
had
was
three
an experience.
You have 3 options to 3 bars in Postmasburg. You've got the Silver Fox, very lekker spot.
Yes.
You've got MCs, and then for me the favorite bar, because you can eat at Silver Fox, which is decent. But the favorite bar was the Diggers pub, which was the old hotel bar.
Diggers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I went to. We didn't do Diggers. Diggers was closed.
Yeah, we went to Silver Fox.
So we did Silver Fox.
on the.
That's where we met the guys whose parents owned the game farm.
Yes.
We played pool.
Mm.
We played some pool against them. It was cool. That was a good night. We ate some steak there too. No, or we went home and bride.
Doing Tom and Bride.
We had a T-bone each.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're an hour into this podcast already. An hour and 13 minutes on. I just want to make sure, I'm the young Jamie of this podcast. Give your lapel a little tap. Is there still a good gap between your lapel and your shirt?
Mm.
That's lovely. Mine too. We're doing good here. Everything is still recording. Awesome. Let's move on to... Let's show people the Vredefort impact.
No, I was just getting into this drilling that we did here.
Okay.
Just quickly.
Go for it.
So we drilled this whole farm everywhere. You can actually see the scars. You see those little holes there.
Zoom in for me a little bit more if you don't mind.
You see these little pads there, those clearings.
Oh, wow. Yes.
So those are old drill pads. So that's where we drilled holes. It's a nice way to do espionage as a geologist on a farm. If you see people, if you want to know if people are exploring, you can see these scars.
You
So
just
you'll
look
know
on
if-
Google
Google
Earth.
Earth, you'll know if someone's done drilling there.
Oh, that's interesting. And please show people a sample of...
Oh, so this is a core. This is what
drilling.
comes out. A piece of core. This particular size is HQ. But we'll get into this one. I'll go over this.
That's awesome.
That's a very nice one. Very rare to find a fossil like
It's
that.
heavy, eh? Just look at I love the lines and the...
That wasn't from this particular project. This was from another drilling project I did in, where was it? Ventersburg.
Okay.
Ventersburg, Henneman.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. So back to Google Earth.
Yeah, so we drilled a lot of holes in this place. Did a lot of months and months of exploration. And after we ran the geological model, did all of that, it turned out to be too low grade and too small for Asmang. They didn't like it. So
Oh, wow.
then they had a joint venture. They were here with a partner. And to my knowledge, they just gave the farm to them. They were so gutful of dealing with these people.
Yes.
That they gave the farm away and they just got out of there completely. And now, after starting here today, having a look, I can see they've started mining where we drilled. So this was our offices. That's where you took the video. So check here, yeah. Here's the core shed that we flew over.
So is it fair to say that your findings there led to them going forth and mining
100%.
the land?
Yeah, 100%.
Wow.
But I can see where they're mining. So this area was one of the best spots. We had very good shallow intersections here.
Is that dark gravel that's appearing there essentially iron in the rock?
Yeah, that's the iron they're mining. But it's also it's darker here. Interesting point. A good iron ore mine, it'll be red because it's mostly hematite. And hematite is the oxidized version of magnetite, which is, so it's the same thing, same chemical formula, just a different form.
Mm-hmm.
So, but in this particular area where they're mining this iron,
Yes.
it's got a bit of manganese in as well.
I remember, yeah, and even in the video you say manganese is a secondary mineral that you guys are mining.
And the manganese occurs below, geologically and stratigraphically, below this horizon they're mining here.
Yes.
But this area particularly, we called it ferromanganese. So there was iron and manganese together in the ore,
Okay.
which is it's not a good thing because it complicates the smelting process when you sell it. So yeah, but yeah, seeing this now, but I knew they would mine here. They would definitely, you see, they could even mine this whole road. You can see how much ground they've lost here because this definitely continues. Whether it continues into that farm, one doesn't know.
They got to get someone like you back in there too.
Nah, I'm done with this bloody project. But it's nice that they're mining. You can see.
It is nice. That's really awesome.
Here's the stockpiles. These are all stockpiles here.
Cool.
But they're also mining up here, yeah. But this is where it was on surface.
That's so cool.
There's the dumps, waste dumps.
Is that called also the tailings? What is it? What is tailings technically at a mine?
Tailings is, so once you've processed a material, put it through a plant,
Yes.
crushed it, screened it, extracted your material, whatever you want, be it gold, platinum, whatever. And then the waste material that comes out of that plant, the processed waste, gets put onto a pile. That's a tailings pile.
Okay.
Yeah, this would just be considered a waste pile or your overburden. So it's what you're stripping off that's totally uneconomical before you get to your ore.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, they're mining here. Can you believe it?
It's so cool.
Jeepers creepers.
All right, John. I think we need to move on to looking at.
real
I mean, it's really cool that you're here and we've gone onto Google Earth and you had no idea that they were mining there yet, and we've actually discovered that. And you were responsible. Definitely played a role in them going forth and starting to get iron out of the ground there, which is so cool. Which is so cool. So congratulations, I guess.
Yeah. But that's still one thing I need to achieve. Start an exploration program and be there to see the mine open.
Got you. Yeah, that would be cool. So Vredefort,
Okay, yeah.
meteor impact.
So essentially,
And once we'd looked at that, we need to get into the main reason you're here,
which
is Sudan.
Let's do it. So there's where we were now in Postmasburg, and that's where we're saying we found this ejector material, this material from the impact. And
Was it a comet or a meteorite?
meteorite.
It was a meteorite.
So that impact structure,
I love how you're able to just find these things without searching them.
It's
Google
open.
Earth does have the search option, ladies and gentlemen, but Jono just finds these things with his eyes.
So all you're seeing now is this portion here. You can see there's
You can see that the Earth, if you look carefully, the Earth, it's almost, you can see how the Earth has been pushed.
yeah, those are the rings.
Like the northwest.
No, the comet didn't come from the northwest. The comet came from the northeast.
Okay.
I think, if I'm not mistaken.
You
can
continue,
double check that.
You continue talking about and showing people the impact on Google Earth, and I'm going to ask GPT.
So you're seeing these rings here. That's the only part that's left exposed of this impact structure. The rest is covered by more recent sedimentation, which is known as the Karoo, which is where this rock comes from. It's the same geological formation.
So I'm going to read what the just a brief, concise description about the Vredefort impact here in southern Africa that took place a long time ago. The Vredefort impact refers to a massive meteorite impact event that occurred roughly 2 billion years ago in what is now South Africa. The Vredefort crater formed by the impact is the largest verified impact crater on Earth, with a diameter of about 300 kilometers. Jeez, like it.
No, it was a big rock.
That's 186 miles. The impact was so powerful that it caused significant geological changes, including the formation of the Witwatersrand Basin, which is where we live.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Which holds the world's largest known gold reserves. The Vredefort Dome, a central uplift within the crater, is now a UNESCO World Heritage Site, providing valuable insights into Earth's geological history and the effects of meteorite impacts. That is super cool. So this was a major event.
Yeah, and that's what you're seeing there now.
Wow.
I mean, that rock that hit here, if you would have felt it in Egypt. That's how strong it was.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So now in this paper we've just published, well, it's in review. It's not actually published, so It's being reviewed for now. So we'll wait till we get feedback. We postulate that ejector material from there was landed somewhere over here. So from there to there. And that
Measure that.
is 320 kilometers.
Wow. So it threw that substance.
Yeah.
What do you call it again?
So these things we found, we calling them, they're accretionary lapilli. That's what they're called.
That's a cool word. Say that again.
Accretionary lapilli. No. I don't think it could be. Just get us a ChatGPT. Accretionary lapilli.
Accretionary lapilli.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. It seems that the phrase accretionary lapilli is either a typographical error or a nonsensical combination of words. Okay, I'm obviously spelling it incorrectly. How would you spell that?
Accretion, A-C-R-E.
Yeah.
T-I-O-N.
T-I-O-N.
A-R-Y.
Yeah.
Lapilli. L-A-P. Lap-I. L-L-I.
Are small, okay, cool. Accretionary lapilli are small spherical particles that form during volcanic eruptions. They typically range in size from a few millimeters to a few centimeters in diameter. These particles form when ash and other fine-grained volcanic materials become coated with water or other sticky substances, causing them to clump together and accumulate additional layers as they are tossed around in the turbulent eruption column. The resulting structures resemble small pellets or hailstones.
Yes. So it's like a little concentric ring. Like if you had to do a cross-section through it, you see the rings, the growth rings. So
Yes.
accretionary means to grow.
Yes.
Accrete. And then, but when you have an impact crater, you also have dust, like a volcanic eruption.
I'm sure.
So then those
And
little...
and that impact, I'm sure, melts rock.
It vaporizes the rock.
Vaporizes the rock.
Vaporize. In that center, it almost vaporizes things. It's so hot. I mean, it's moving at like 60 kilometers an hour. No, not 60.
I'm sure it's definitely...
60
I drive to...
60 kilometers a second is how fast it's moving.
Good grief.
60 k's a second.
Yes.
So that thing causes big damage. And then so these little lapilli, we postulate, now landed in
350 kilometers away.
350 kilometers away.
Wow.
And then inside they were replaced with iron over time.
Yes.
And the evidence for that is these inside the quartz crystals, looking at under a microscope, you see shock features. So like a crack in it, or a little thing called a pseudotachelite.
Yes.
Those are all indications of a shock event. And the only thing to explain that in close proximity would be the feather fort.
Amazing.
So we'll see what they say.
Yeah, that would maybe make a great part 2 for a follow-up to see what the results of that are. All right, cool. So that was very fascinating. And like I said, I love listening to you, and Postmasburg can almost be an entire podcast in and of itself. But you're here to shed some light on your recent trip back from Sudan. This isn't your first trip back from Sudan.
No,
Because,
third time.
And I'm glad we got into to your entire journey, because all of that work, that admin in the warehouse in Joburg, the times out in Ventersburg and Postmasburg and all the other places you've traveled to, finally brought you to the biggest project of your life, of your career so far. It's fair to say that.
For sure, 100%.
You've been tasked with going to Sudan, specifically to look for gold.
Correct.
Is it northern or southern Sudan? What is the situation on that?
You've got Sudan and South Sudan. That's it. So South Sudan is just they annexed from.
Okay, and you're in Sudan. You were in Sudan.
We're in Sudan, yeah.
You were in Sudan, just a few days ago. Not even that long ago.
Just over a week now. I've been back.
Been back in South Africa for a week, and your contract worked in such a way where it was an on and off contract. You would go there for how many weeks at a time, and
9 weeks on, 3 weeks off.
and how many times have you performed that rotation in Sudan now?
I only did the full 9 weeks twice.
Full 9 weeks twice.
And this last one was cut short. It was 4 weeks.
It was a 4-week stint. And find Sudan for us here on the map. A lot of people probably don't. I'm sure they have a clue where it is, but let's get specific and show people exactly.
The borders on the world. Okay, so there it is.
Wow, look how Africa changes from central to north.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And also, side note, Sudan is the third largest country in Africa, if I'm not mistaken.
So let me confirm that on GPT.
Yeah, I think it's Congo. Congo's it's the third largest.
Cool. So let's get into it. There's Sudan. Wow. And Sudan, for a lot of people that also don't know, lies on the Red Sea, which is famous for scuba diving, snorkeling. It is it is rich with marine life, and one of the top destinations where people travel and go and scuba dive. There's also fishing, a lot of good fishing, obviously, in the Red Sea as well. And between Sudan and the Red Sea, I mean, not between Sudan and the Red Sea, on the other side of the Red Sea is Saudi Arabia, and that's going to be important for the story as well. Can you just zoom out and show people that? So we've got Sudan there on the left, the Red Sea, and then on the right we've got Saudi Arabia, which looks like Saudi Arabia was connected to Africa. If I just look at...
Yeah, no, they were connected. This is a rift.
It's
That's
amazing.
splitting apart as we speak.
So that split apart, the ocean essentially, I'd imagine, washed in there and formed this incredible biodiverse section of marine.
There's three. Whenever there's a rifting, there's a tri-point. There's a hot spot underneath here. I think it's called a Afar Plume, if I'm not mistaken. And there's always in a rift, there's always 2 rifts that open and 1 fails.
Okay.
And these are the 2 that open. This arm here, that arm there, And the East African Rift Valley is the failed rift. You can see that it's going there.
Oh, wow. So the horn hasn't split off yet, but it
No.
wants to.
It's slowly going.
So it is still splitting.
Yes.
So one day there's going to be a rift, and people could potentially go scuba diving in Ethiopia, between Ethiopia and South Sudan.
Correct. Right here. Right along there.
Wow.
All the Great Lakes in Africa form along that rift.
That's amazing.
But it's not really a rift, it's a failed rift. But it's being reactivated.
Why failed?
Because it's part of this I don't know what the correct terminology, but it's like a point.
Yes.
Whenever there's a hot spot, it's causing stress, and there's rifting, 2 of the arms go, like you see here,
Yes.
and the one fails. But there's always 3.
Very interesting.
And that's what the formation of the Red Sea is. And that's why it's warm. It's got some volcanic activity in this rift.
And there's also people also generally float. The Red Sea is famous for floating because...
No, that's the Dead Sea.
Oh, that's the Dead Sea. I got the wrong...
But there is more salts and dissolved solids in this sea, so you do float a bit better than our oceans.
So I've got internet again. Top 5 largest countries in Africa by land area are: number 1, Algeria; number 2, DRC, the Congo; number 3, you're right, Sudan; number 4, Libya; and number 5, Chad.
No,
The Chad.
the Chad.
Cool. And that is where you've been working.
That's it.
That's where you've been working up until last week.
Up until last
You've been
week.
working there up until last week. You had to evacuate because civil war broke out in Sudan. It's been quite a volatile area for quite some time now. It was almost no surprise. I want to almost say that war broke out there. I almost want to say, not almost want to say, there has been an experimental phase for Sudan and democracy.
Yes.
Because they are essentially, and I don't want to get too much into why they're fighting. I want to get more focus on your experience, but there's essentially 2 factions. They are fighting each other for control of the country. And if people want to look more into that, I'm sure there's plenty other YouTube videos.
There's definitely news on
Fox News,
Al Jazeera.
CNN, wherever you get your news. I'm sure you've seen the news taking place in Sudan. Can you show us exactly where you have been working? Show us the capital. Where do you fly out of Johannesburg International Airport, and where do you land? Where does your journey start?
So we generally fly with Ethiopian Airways, and we fly from Johannesburg to Addis Ababa, the capital of Ethiopia. And then from Ethiopia, we fly to Khartoum, the capital.
Show us where Ethiopia is.
I did already.
Sorry, I'm not.
Ethiopia, there's Addis, and then from there we'll fly to Khartoum, because Sudan is like South Africa's got provinces, they've got states,
Yes.
huge states, and to travel between states as a foreigner you need specific paperwork. So we have to spend a day in Khartoum to get the relevant travel documentation. And then once
To get the relevant?
travel documentation to get in from, I don't know what the state is, but where we were working, it's the Red Sea state.
Yes.
So it's all along this coast, no, this whole coastline here. Here's Eritrea, another bordering country. So to get from Khartoum to the Red Sea, as a foreigner, we needed that paper. So we spend a day in Khartoum, and then, well, Khartoum is how to pronounce it actually.
Again?
Khartoum.
Khartoum.
Khartoum. Then from Khartoum,
Because it is an Islamic country, and when you say it like that, for me, that language is I want to almost use the word harsh, but not in an offensive way, obviously, but it's got very hard and
the sounds, yeah.
sounds, and that is sort of an example of that.
Khala khala. Khala khala is actually a word. It's funny. I always used to say khala khala khala,
Yes.
and it actually means desert.
Oh,
It means
cool.
nowhere. Actually, khala means nowhere.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
So from Khartoum, we then take a local flight. Airline that we fly is called Bidr,
Okay.
BDR,
Yeah.
Bidr Airlines.
Okay.
You avoid the food because you don't want to get bitter belly.
Is that a thing?
Yeah.
Bitter belly.
Butter, we call it butter belly.
Oh, hectic.
And then you fly from there, it takes about an hour, and you land here in Port Sudan.
Yes.
That was our home base.
Port Sudan.
Port Sudan.
Wow. And that is where you were evacuated.
Evacuated from as well, yes.
And it's so fascinating to me. Look how the desert meets that blue turquoise tropical water. Eh?
Mm.
That is beautiful.
That's it.
And then from Port Sudan,
So we had our compound, our main compound is in Port Sudan, where we have our exploration laboratory
yes,
that is meant to process our samples, give us the results, and guide us in our decisions to where we want to explore and how intense we want to explore.
yes,
So I used to work in the desert for 2 weeks at a time, and then come back to Port Sudan for 2 days.
So explain to people, you essentially had two bases.
Yeah,
You
so-
had one in Port Sudan, and then you had a secondary base deeper, further into the desert,
Into the desert where our exploration concession was.
where you were looking for gold.
So-
You were looking for gold in the desert.
Gold in the desert. So there's Port Sudan. That's our compound about where the hand is.
Yes.
And the main camp that we had was up here in this river bend here. Right there.
Wow. It's very mountainous, and I remember from a lot of the photos that you've sent to me from some of the places, there's a lot of mountains there.
It's why they call it the Red Sea Hills.
Wow.
Yeah. I didn't expect the terrain from looking at these images. It looks you don't get a sense of the relief. It's some of the mountains were really big,
That's amazing.
but beautiful scenery. Yeah, so to get there you have to drive it takes you depends how you drive, but it can take you about 4-5 hours to get to that camp from there. It's only about 100 k's as the crow flies, if that. So you drive along a tar road all the way up and around to here. That is our Bud Dam. That's the dam that provides the drinking water to Port Sudan. So they've got a
Okay.
big pipe system that goes all the way to Port Sudan.
It's amazing. Zoom into that dam. I want to see that.
So this dam was built by the British when they were still involved, or when they were still colonized, when Sudan was still colonized by the British.
Yes, look at that. That is an oasis.
Yeah,
What is the water coming out of the earth there, out of the mountains? What's the situation?
Yeah, it's just natural water. Yeah.
And there's another
It's a river.
section there on the right too.
Mm.
And look at the veins in the earth. It looks like there used to be a lot of water.
Yeah, the thing is, it looks like there was a lot of water, but these are just scar marks you're seeing over a long time of little bit of rain, little river, little bit of
Yeah.
rain, little river. So you're just seeing scarring. So there may have been a time, yes, where there was a lot more rain, but I think a lot of it is just scarring. You're just seeing remnants.
Awesome. And let's find your base.
So, and you aren't allowed to go to this dam because kids drowned in it, so there's police there. I wanted to go and see it. I wasn't allowed to go and see it. Here's our camp. I wonder if our camp, we had 2 camps. So this is all part of the story, really.
Yes.
So this is the crux of the story here now. So we, as the geologist of the project, I was the guy that had to live in the desert and work out there. That was my job, to go out and map and sample and look for areas that you can do more detailed exploration, such as drilling and geophysics.
So you were the first guy. You were the tip of the spear in terms of a mining project.
Yeah.
Get a geologist on the ground to take his hammer, what do you call it, your geopick, and start literally looking for gold in samples from the surface of the earth.
Yeah. Signs of mineralization.
Signs of mineralization. And while we're on that, let's...
Now let's get into the story.
you don't want to talk about your rock just
No,
yet.
not yet. We'll get there.
No
Just the
problem.
other one, yeah.
Let's
I'll show you exactly where it comes from. Right, yeah.
Fantastic.
The exact point. So, yeah, we had to build a camp in the desert. Now, logistically, to get the stuff into the desert was quite cool. So we had to hire 3 Bedford trucks. So the British don't know whether they left the Bedfords here or they just have they're old Bedfords or they're bringing new Bedfords. But a Bedford is a huge 4x4 lorry. Should I Google it?
Please do. I'd love to. I've got no idea what you're even talking about.
Let's try Sudanese Bedford lorry. There it is right there, one of these. Checking it.
So you had 3 of those?
3 of these.
Full of your high-tech laboratory equipment?
No, not the lab. This was just for...
Your remote camp?
Yeah, there's a nice...
Okay.
There's a nice...
So the lab was in Port Sudan?
Lab was built with containers, and it was built in Port Sudan. Gotcha. Not built, commissioned, recommissioned. Okay. So these are...
Look at that thing. That looks like a tank.
So these are 4x4 lorries, but they've been modified by these locals. So you check what they've done here. So what they do is they cut the cabbie off here. Okay, and then they rebuild it with this weird sort of, I don't know what you want to call it, Sudanese touch. So they've got like another cabin built in here, but it is the most uncomfortable drive you've ever had in your life. Because I said, let me try and sit in one for an hour.
Yes.
And you have to sit hunched over and look down while you're driving, because the way they've built the seats is it's raised. So your head's not looking through the windshield. It's just...
That's hilarious.
It's very inconvenient.
And it actually says Bedford in the front.
Yeah, that's what the truck is called. It's a Bedford.
I see it's got proper things to, I don't know, to clip chains into in the front if you want to pull something.
Yeah, no, it's a real workhorse of a car.
I can see that. I can see there's it's got a massive petrol tank, or is that a water tank underneath?
No, that's its diesel tank, yeah.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. Cool. So 3 of these.
We loaded up 3 of these with all of our tents, our fridges, yes, all of the equipment we needed to build a camp. We put it in there, loaded them in Port Sudan, and 5 o'clock in the morning we all headed in a convoy. 2 Land Cruisers, 3 Bedfords, hit the road towards that campsite where I showed you here now.
Google Earth.
Towards here, this was our first site. We scouted the site about 3 weeks before we went out. Mm-hmm. We went to the desert with a colleague of mine, and we went and scouted where we can put the camp, engage with the local tribes, see if we can get there. But that's even part of the story. So our first site was right, where was it? There. Right in there.
Wow. In a dry riverbed?
No, we avoided being in the riverbed. In case it did rain, they get heavy flash flooding here. Okay. So it would have wiped the camp out. But we were just on a little slope. We called it Hotel Wadi Dirut, because this main, they call it wadis, these river channel. This main east-west wadi is called Wadi Dirut.
Okay.
So we called it Hotel Wadi Dirut. So we had the 3 Bedfords, we went there and we unloaded, and then we built the camp. It took us about 4 or 5 days of building, putting up the tents.
Working with people. It's also a very important part of the story for me is that once you arrived in Sudan, you employed local people to help you assemble your camp.
Yeah.
Whom you also became very close with.
Yes.
Over the past couple of months.
2 guys we employed, Saeed and Ali. Saeed is a geologist by trade. He's educated, been to university. Lacquer guy. I feel for him now because he's not working. I don't know if he's still going, how long it's going to be for him.
What the hell those guys are doing
He just got married,
He's the chap that just got married.
Just got married. So yeah, I feel for old Saeed.
Yes.
And then Ali can't speak a word of English. He's a local tribe guy. He's a Bija. That's the local tribe.
Does he deal with the... Should I include that part? Because doesn't he want to keep that anonymous?
What?
What sect he's from?
No, that's Saeed.
Okay.
Yeah. No, Saeed, don't worry about that.
I'll just edit this part out anyway. Okay, yeah, very interesting.
So Ali's our driver.
Ali's your driver. And he's the one that talks to the locals when you get pulled over. And
if I need to sort them out, yeah. Because he can speak, in the Bija don't speak Arabic, they speak Bija. It's its own language.
Oh, wow.
So...
Not related to...
Nothing, doesn't... If you speak Arabic you speak Bija to an Arabic speaking person, they won't understand a word.
Oh,
it's
wow.
a totally different language.
Very cool.
Yeah, but it makes translations the biggest problem. because you've got to go from Bija to Arabic to English, then English to Arabic to Bija.
Jeez.
So it's a huge broken telephone. And that was a big source of frustration, was negotiating with these local people.
But that is fascinating, and I also want to get into, the fact that you look at this from a top view, and I mean that is as barren and as desert as it can get. Maybe even worse because there's mountains. So like you get lost in there, and people don't know where you are. People aren't going to find you. But the interesting thing for me is that there are actually people living in the desert permanently. You saw people living out there while you were working.
Yeah.
Will you want to reflect on that, on those people?
Yeah, it's they live a very simple way of life, obviously, but you can see they've got some Western influence because some of them have got cell phones and they drive motorbikes and.
Yes, and I'll get some of the photographs from you. But the fascinating thing, that was one of the fascinating things for me, were those desert miners, those desert artisanal miners.
Yeah, they call them Dahaba.
And they've got Mad Max-like motorcycles with their prayer mats attached, tanks of water, and they cruise into the desert and themselves mine for gold. Is that right?
Yeah, but they have different methods. Some of them use a metal detector.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah.
Wow.
Or some of them physically mine veins, put it in a bag, take it to Port Sudan and sell it.
Yes. And in our country we've got artisanal miners, but we've got a slightly different name for them.
Yeah, zamas.
Yeah, we've got zamazamas.
But they're illegal in South Africa, whereas in Sudan they're legal. That's part of their mining industry.
So they've got so each person digging for gold out here in the desert has some sort of license to mine.
No, not a license to mine. It's the way they sell the gold. It's regulated how they sell it.
Okay.
So there's a taxation to the government to sell the gold.
Very interesting.
Yeah. That's the challenge, because you get an exploration concession like we do, and where you exploring and you have government rights to do the work.
Yes.
You've got hundreds of people literally mining your gold that's in your concession, and you can't do anything about it. But they only touch the surface. So, we're looking for something huge, something deep.
You want to make mullah.
Yeah, something bigger. They just surface scratches.
Which is fascinating though.
It's tough work. You got to give it to them. I tell you, working in that heat.
It's hot, eh? I mean, it's...
For not a lot of money. And
Wow.
during Ramadan, even during Ramadan, I saw them working.
Yeah, that I've got a lot of, respect for that. Those guys are working and fasting, and you told me that they absolutely don't consume any water, even during the day, outside in that heat.
Nothing. Serious discipline, I tell you.
Wow.
Big discipline.
Yeah, that's very cool. Wow, I'm just sitting here, just comprehending and thinking about that.
So, I mean,
And camels, you saw camels out there.
I'll tell you the wildlife. I saw lots of camels.
Yeah, let's talk. We spoke about the wildlife in Portsmouthburg. Let's keep that as a theme. What wildlife did you see out here?
So it's very interesting. It's a very desolate environment, but there's animals that live there, and things are happening. So we saw a lot of camels. Of course, it's a desert. Everyone asks you, if you go into the desert, what do you see? You see a camel, and we see lots of camels every day. The locals keep some of the camels as for their milk, so that they can drink it for sustenance. And there's a couple of free ones. You see babies.
Wow, so there
breeding.
are wild
Yeah.
camels breeding out in the desert.
So there are definitely wild camels.
That's amazing.
Mm.
Is that the coffee? Is that the milk they put in their coffee in the morning?
No, they don't drink milk with their coffee.
Do they not?
Only black, yeah.
Only black coffee. Wow.
Lots of sugar though.
How many sugars?
Good Lord, So I'll give you an example. Saeed asks me to make him coffee one day.
Yes.
And I say, how many sugars? 3 tablespoons. And he says that's medium.
Oh my word.
They love their sugar.
White sugar.
White, refined quality. Yes,
The good old-fashioned sugar. The
yes,
good
they-
old-fashioned.
I can't believe, actually, sugar, they consume a lot of sugar.
That's so interesting. Eh?
Wow. Sugar's a big thing there.
Not good. I don't put any sugar in my coffee.
Nothing. No.
I used to though.
Yeah, same.
I was a 2 sugar guy.
But now you give me coffee with sugar, I'll give it back to you.
It's too sweet, eh?
Can't handle it. Then also goats.
Wildlife.
Goats, lots of little goats.
Also being herded. And
Herded,
bred.
yeah. I think they're mostly there for livestock. They keep them to eat. But they look like they're wild because they're just roaming, you know. And I asked them, how do you know whose goat is whose goat? So sometimes you'll see there's a marking on their ears, like they've cut off a piece of the ear. That's that chief's goat.
Oh, yes.
They mark them in specific ways.
I would imagine they'd have to.
But you get the odd wild goat.
Otherwise, O's are going to steal O's goats.
So some of them, I mean, you're in the highest mountain, all of a sudden there's a little goat around you operating.
Wow.
So it's really cool. What else did we see? I saw a hedgehog while we were building the camp, a tiny little hedgehog.
Yes.
Which was really cool to see. First time I saw a hedgehog in the wild.
That's so cool.
What else was there?
Loads of, I saw pictures of scorpions that you sent to me. You took your ultraviolet light.
In the evenings we'd go hunt for scorpions.
Because scorpions glow under ultraviolet light.
The death stalker, that was the one that we...
You found a death stalker. What is a death stalker?
They say it's one of the most venomous scorpions on
Get that
Earth.
up there for us there.
Yes, it's a creepy...
But a nasty looking thing. And the locals, when they see you there with your UV light looking for scorpions, was that the first time they've seen someone finding scorpions like that?
I think it's the first time they've actually ever seen a UV light in their life. So yeah. Yeah, so there's an example.
Click on that glowing example. See how they glow under ultraviolet light.
That's what they look like.
So they're very easy to spot.
We thought when I went out the first time, I thought I might see one.
Yeah.
We wound up spending 2 hours outside there and finding over 50. They're so easy to find.
Wow.
But there's an example. And that's how you see
That's
it.
the death stalker.
Yeah.
And if that thing stings you?
I don't think I think multiple stings can cause a fatality.
Yes.
But it's, I think it'll hurt. It'll hurt. But that little black segment on the end of the tail is the telltale sign.
The deathstalker scorpion is considered one of the most dangerous scorpions in the world. Its venom contains a potent mix of neurotoxins that can cause extreme pain, fever, convulsions, paralysis, and in severe cases, even death. The sting is particularly dangerous for young children, the elderly, and people with pre-existing health conditions such as heart problems or allergies. Although fatalities from deathstalker stings are rare, the venom can lead to serious medical complications if not treated promptly. Anyone stung by a deathstalker should seek immediate medical attention. Antivenom is available and can be effective in treating the symptoms and neutralizing the toxins, but it is crucial to receive treatment as soon as possible after being stung. That is wild.
They're all over the desert at night.
So
but when the locals saw them with the UV light, they were shit scared.
I'm sure.
They didn't want to sleep on the ground anymore. So I didn't actually want to show them because I knew that they would react like that. Because they don't see them at night. Because you can't see them even if you have a torch, you won't see that thing.
Wow.
It's so difficult to spot.
Yeah, because there's no light in the desert. Huh?
Nothing.
That is wow.
And they're quite small. They're not very big scorpions.
That doesn't look like the same species of scorpion that you ate in Thailand.
No, definitely.
Hey, that black one there in the other picture there looks more like it.
That's more appetizing. Deep fried goodness.
Very dangerous looking scorpion, dude.
Death stalkers. Yeah, so there's
and you saw a fox. Tell us about the fox you saw.
Yes, the fox. So we have these field vehicles out there called Polarises, which are these ATVs. I can Google it quickly. Polaris vehicle. Can't even spell vehicle, but oh no, not that. Yeah, it's one of these. So we have a couple of these out in the desert. These for our field vehicles to operate in the field. And unfortunately, the one that we had in the field, the bearing seized in the back wheel and it broke. So we had to take that one back to Port Sudan and then bring one of the newer ones back to the desert. Yes. And we had to drive it with a low bed car into the desert. And that in itself was a hell of a story because we only left Port Sudan at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yes.
And it took us 7 hours to get there. driving 15 k's an hour. I was following the car with a Land Cruiser that was carrying the Polaris, and I had to make sure that it didn't fall off or the strapping was on. And we got to the camp at about 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the evening in the desert, and the driver that was delivering the car, first of all, he was gutful. He didn't know how far it was to the desert.
Yes.
So he was not happy about the distance we traveled to get there, because it's so remote, and for that car that he was driving.
Because he had to drive back.
It was a nightmare. So
he wasn't happy.
He wasn't happy. But 7, and I asked him, please can we just stay in the night, stay in the camp, and when the sun rises, we leave.
Yeah.
And then he says no, he doesn't want to. He's got family and kids in Port Sudan. He needs to get there. So I said, okay, cool. 9 o'clock came, evening. We get back in the car, just unloaded the one Polaris, loaded the broken one, and then we drove again for another 7 hours in the middle of the night to Port Sudan from the desert.
Wow.
That was a hell of a journey.
Through the desert,
yeah,
nothing. Stars.
No,
you saw Starlink out there, didn't you?
Yeah, but funny enough, you say stars. That was the first night there was ever a mist in the air. I don't know whether I'd just never seen it because I'd been sleeping in my tent.
Yeah. But
there was a mist in the air when we were driving, and we couldn't see many stars that night. It was very strange.
Oh, wow.
But like you said, we did see a fox. When I was mapping in the field, I actually found one of the dens of these foxes.
Oh, cool.
Because around the den there were 2 dead goats. And the local people are shit scared of them. Like Saeed, he didn't want to go near the den.
Did we identify that fox?
I don't think so. But on that drive,
yes,
in the evening, I saw just the headlights of the car shone on it, looked at me, and then it just ran straight into its hole. So I saw it very, very briefly.
Wow.
Some sort of desert fox of sort, but they're quite common up there apparently.
Okay.
Much like the black-backed jackal and the bat-eared fox is.
Yes.
Yes. They do occur there.
Very interesting.
So yeah, wildlife was cool. I try to see as much as I can. Lots of little lizards, like bearded dragon sort of things, chameleon-looking things, and salamander things.
And you got to dive? So you got to see some animals in the ocean as well?
Yeah, the diving was really beautiful.
Maybe we'll show the advert, the commercial for the diving company that you featured in.
Oh yes, that is a tour.
I found it in the editor.
This Port Sudan Tourism Board. Not that it's going to work now.
No one's really going to Sudan for tourism now, are they?
No one was already going to. Now they're definitely not going to ever go there.
Shame.
Yeah.
No, not cool, man. Not cool. So let's get to the crux of it. We had an amazing December with you. We spent Christmas together, and it was a good time. But we sadly had to say goodbye to you. Was it on the 1st or the 2nd of January that you left?
2nd of Jan I left George. 3rd of Jan I flew to...
Oh yes, you flew to Joburg. You went straight to a Woolies and bought a big boerewors that you cooked and ate.
11 o'clock at night.
At 11 o'clock at night. And then you went back for what you didn't realize at the time was your last stint.
No. I spent 9 weeks there. I came back now in March.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Yes.
What am I talking about? You came back in March and we did Ultra together.
Yes.
We did Ultra and we had to say goodbye to you again. Now I remember, yes.
Beginning of April I left.
Beginning of April you left. For what was to be your... I don't want to say your last, but your last stint for a while until things hopefully calm down.
Yeah.
Because civil war broke out in Sudan, as we saw in the news, as is still going on, and it's been intensifying. So let's get into that. You're in the desert, or where were you? Where were you when you heard that people are starting to fire guns?
So, luckily, I had just come back from the desert for my 2-week stint.
So you were back at Port Sudan?
I was back in Port Sudan. I was on the final day before I was meant to go back. Then I was meant to go back the day the war broke out in Sudan. No, I lie. So I got back. I was in Port Sudan, and I was in. How I found out about the war. This is where I was for the very moment.
Yes.
I was in Port Sudan buying groceries with our colleague Omer, and we literally walked into a detergent shop to buy brooms and some detergents for the desert for washing.
Yes.
And as we walked in, there were two guys that worked there watching TV, and it was on the news, and there were videos of land cruisers in Khartoum going onto the tarmac at the airport, and it was all in Arabic, so I couldn't understand anything. But I asked Omar what's going on. He says, no, there's fighting in Khartoum. So I said, is it a bad thing? He's like, initially he was like, yeah, it's bad, but this sort of thing happens all the time in Sudan. So it blows over. That's what everyone thought would happen.
So that was everyone's initial thought. This thing's just going to blow over.
Exactly. And then as we walked out of the shop, the military mobilized in Port Sudan, and a couple of land cruisers, military land cruisers, came screaming down the street and hooting and telling cars to get out the way so that they can block off this road that sort of encircles the mayor's house in the town. It's right on the edge of the city near the ocean. So they always block off these two big roads around it whenever there's some sort of protest or demonstration, or like now there was a war. Big military land cruisers with 50 caliber machine guns mounted to the back, and they were screaming. And then Omar was like, do you want to go back to the compound, or do you want to continue shopping? I said, no, let's finish shopping so I can go into the desert tomorrow. I want to get this done. And then we got the shopping done, and I went and I sat down on the couch and I watched Al Jazeera for like 8 hours thereafter.
And things just escalated and escalated.
And just every hour that went by, it just got worse and worse. And we heard that Khartoum is pretty much now under siege, but Oaks are fighting each other in the street with guns and shooting each other.
Jeez. Yeah.
Then my colleagues got back from the lab, and I told them, have you guys heard the news? And they knew nothing of anything the whole day. And initially they also had the same reaction. Oh, this is nothing. It's going to blow over. And then came the next day in Port Sudan. And that's when the fighter jets came in from Khartoum.
You've got a video of that.
I have a video of it.
Yes, you can send that to me and I can
overlay it. So I only got to see the jet when it was just...
So where you are, there was peace. Is it safe to say that?
In Port Sudan?
Yes.
I wouldn't say peace. The army has just got a huge stronghold there.
Okay.
And the RSF, the paramilitary group that's fighting, they don't have any... They have a very small contingent there. Yes. And the army chased them out quickly in those first 2 days. Yeah. They bombed them, shot them, and they scrambled. Apparently they ran into the desert. No one really knows where they went to.
And then another day passes. Fighting starts escalating. I think there was a bomb that went down at the airport.
Yeah, we heard that bomb, but that was out of a fighter jet. One of them, I think it was a MiG fighter jet. And that thing shot the base. And I'd never heard a bomb in my life before. And it's the first time I actually heard what a bomb sounds like. And it's unbelievably loud.
Yes.
It's very, very loud.
I haven't heard a bomb.
It's crazy. And it shook. It didn't shake the building, but you could feel the shockwave.
Yes. And then things became, as what's his name says in the Bad Boys movie, shit just got real.
Yes. Exactly.
Huh?
Yeah, and that's when it hit home that, there's actually fighting now. And Oaks were shooting, you could hear guns and fucking AK-47s. But that was very short-lived. It was short-lived, and we decided as a team we're just gonna wait it out. Mm-hmm. We have work to do here. We're safe in the compound. We're away from the violence.
But you weren't leaving the compound. No. There was a conscious decision to not leave town. Not leave the compound because you were afraid. Yes. You guys were afraid.
No, for sure. We're the only White Oaks left in town. We might have...
To say the least.
We might have been abducted or something by these paramilitary people.
Yes, which happens all the time in Africa. So you guys were afraid of that kind of thing.
Yeah, and it was one of the mandates from our security groups.
Somali pirate vibes.
No, jeez. But for me, I didn't feel like it was a worry. Like, I didn't think it was going to be.
You were still just worried about finding gold.
Yeah, I wanted to just get back into the desert as quickly as I could.
Yes.
But, no, it didn't quite pan out.
It didn't quite pan out like that. Fighting continued to escalate, and, let's cut straight to the chase. You guys needed to be evacuated.
Yeah, that was a big thing. So we had our guys... So we had a meeting amongst the four of us. There were 4 colleagues of ours working together. And like I said, we want to wait it out. But when the internet all got cut off, because the army took over the internet and they cut it off, so it's essentially like a double-edged sword, because they turn off the internet so that people can't communicate with each other on the opposing military.
So no more Pornhub.
Fuck, nothing. You couldn't get it there anyway. They blocked that IP.
How do you know that?
You have to check. Bro. Things get lonely in the desert. And then, yeah, so we sat down and then we started getting a bit frustrated. Like you're getting cabin fever. So like my colleague Dwayne, him and I just played a lot of darts, trying to let the time go by, because, you know, your family's asking you where you are, what's happening, when you're getting evacuated, and we didn't have a plan. You know, there was no plan to get out because it happened so quickly. The airports were shut. We couldn't get out quickly. It was not possible to get out. And then, like I said, the fighting, then when they hit the banks, when the banks turned off, that was when we knew we were in a bit of trouble, because we couldn't get money anymore.
Internet off, banks off.
So South Africa couldn't send us money to buy provisions and fuel.
That's a problem.
So we were left with like $1,000 and 30,000 Sudanese pounds, which is like $1,000.
Luckily you had that.
Yeah. But
and you had food.
Yeah, we had lots of food, loads of water. We were fine.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we had to make the decision to get out, and the only way that we heard people were getting out was by bus to Egypt or by sea to Saudi. And initially, our local colleagues, Omar, he was trying to tell us to stay, because he was asking the wrong people for the fucking information, and they kept telling him the information you would get if it was like a commercial day, like, yes, the boat leaves on a Tuesday and a Thursday, or no, the airport's closed. But we were getting information from other people that there's activity there, there's boats leaving, there's aircraft flying from Port Sudan. So me and Dwayne said, let's just go to the airport and see what's going on, because we can see the C-130 cargo planes flying in and out.
Yes.
And we thought we could get on one of these things. And then when we got there, there was in fact activity at the airport, but it was all UN officials that were getting flown out by their embassies, sending these C-130 military planes, picking them up and taking them.
This must have been around the time when, a lot of the consulates decided to start evacuating their people. Must have been part of that contingency.
Well, I think it was, they had to wait for them to get from Khartoum to Port Sudan first. So then once they got there, they sent in the aircraft. But we couldn't get on there because you had to be on their list, and our embassy wasn't doing any sort of collaborating with other countries to get people out. That's because the embassy had fallen. You know, there was no one working there. There was no power. Khartoum is still probably a dark place.
I think it's difficult for people to imagine what it's like to not be able to have access to their bank account.
Yeah.
To money. I think that is when you realize shit is hitting the fan.
Yeah.
Especially if you don't have money.
Yeah. That's the biggest problem I think Port Sudan will face now. So the cost of everything's going to go up, and there's already poverty in that place. People don't have money, so how can they afford to live? Because the cost of fuel already went up to like 120 Rand a litre.
120 Rand a litre. What are we complaining about here in South Africa?
That's black market price.
Wow.
What the Oaks do, I've seen, they, like commercial trucks, like lighties, they go and they go and siphon some fuel out of the trucks into drums, and then they sell it on the side of the road.
Sure, but...
Yeah, so then we only had one option left. That was to go by boat.
Across the Red Sea.
Across the Red Sea.
From Port Sudan.
From Port Sudan.
Let's zoom into Port Sudan. Let's get a nice Google Earth image of your point of evacuation. And what was it a case of? Was it a case of leaving the compound, packing a bag of essentials, making sure you've got your passport, and just getting out?
So initially we had packed grab bags, 2 sets of clothes, some essential stuff, like a backpack, in case we were to be quickly evacuated. But then when we got told that we're going to go on a ship, potentially, I decided I'm going to pack a full bag, because I don't know when I'm going to come back. I want to leave as little as I can there. We work-related field gear, some shoes, all my tech I wanted to bring back, my laptop, my tablet.
Of course. But there is still a bunch of your stuff in the desert.
Yeah, there's still stuff in the desert and in the compound.
Wow.
So what we heard about the sea was that there's a 1,800-seater ferry that transports people, not from
where?
not from Port Sudan. So Port Sudan is actually just the logistical hub. It's the port, the commercial port. The passenger port is down here, this area. This is called Suakin. Suakin was the first port in Sudan. And the British decided it was, you see how narrow it is going in there. It's a very narrow port. So getting big ships in and out there wouldn't have worked. So the
I'm thinking about bike joke again.
Oh, Jesus.
Sorry.
Fuck.
I don't know why. I'm not... yeah, it's just a silly thought.
Fuck.
I don't know why I'm finding that so funny all of a sudden. But please continue, Jono. I'm totally with you here.
So that's Suakin.
Okay, very interesting.
This is a centuries old port.
Look at the color of the water.
It's like purple. When you're on the sea, it's like almost purple.
It's incredible.
Beautiful.
And the water's warm, you say?
Yeah, very warm. So we thought we might have to go to Suakin, which is now 60 km south of Port Sudan, to get on this passenger ferry. So then we got told...
And the passenger ferry was going to cruise across the Red Sea into Saudi Arabia because...
That's always where it goes.
Oh, so there's permanently a ferry that you can catch from Sudan to Saudi Arabia.
It's how people can get across cheaply than having to fly.
Wow. I think you've just given a lot of backpackers an idea.
No, I wouldn't personally do that. No. Because it's 24
Guys
hours.
on a budget.
It's 24 hours on that boat.
24 hours across the Red Sea to Saudi Arabia.
With that ferry.
Wow.
Because it's a huge vessel.
And it's probably one of those slow chug boats, the kind that we got on when we were in Thailand. No, we went on the fast catamaran. You never experienced the big chug boat ferry.
But it must be something like that then.
Something like that. So you didn't end up going there?
So that was the one option. We said, should we just get in the car, drive to Suakin, and then get inside the boat and go? But then we got more information, because info came really slowly. You got a story here, then you got a fucking story there, then you don't know who to trust. So we said, let's just see shit for ourselves. So we got in the car, or Richard got in the car, and he drove to this. Where's this spot here? Right here. The Corniche. So this is where the local Sudanese sit and drink coffee on the weekends. This is their hangout. This is the Corniche.
Oh, cool.
It's quite a nice little spot. People hang out here. There's some pool tables here, ping pong tables.
It's a vibe.
It is a vibe. But then here's where we went,
It's even the color of the water in this canal is so blue.
So this is the Port Sudan Maritime Club, this area here. And this is where we got told to come. Come here, hand your passport into an official, and there's warships from Saudi Arabia crossing the Red Sea to take people out. Then Richard came here, and we fucking sat there for 3 days waiting after we gave our passport in.
Unbelievable. Where did you sit? Can you see?
Right there under that light post.
Zoom into that for us there, come.
What it looks like here.
Let's get right in there. And while we're zooming into this, I'll probably get some footage from Jonathan and just intercut some of this stuff with the actual footage of the area. So you sat there and you slept there. Where did you sleep?
On the floor, on the ground there, under that light. It was like a free-for-all, bro. It was hectic.
Was there people everywhere? Was it a humanitarian crisis?
Yes, it was a fuck-up. You're right here, there were these Asian guys. I think they were Thai, actually.
Yes.
Bunch of Thai guys. They were drilling though. They were swimming here in the ocean, jumping off here. This is a swimming pool, actually.
Okay.
It's empty.
Oh, I see that.
But this room here, this is where the toilets were.
Is that godforsaken train spotting toilet you sent me? I'll show you folks a toilet of this. This This is where people had to shit and piss. Did women also have to use that toilet?
I don't know what the women toilets look like, but those were the male toilets.
Hopefully a little bit better.
I braved 3 shits in there. I had to. I had to shit.
And toilet paper?
Luckily, Dwayne brought some from the compound, so
Pretty good thing to grab.
but they don't use toilet paper there anyway. You just got the
bidet.
The bidet.
Okay.
But I didn't want to touch it because it was fucking filthy.
Yeah, and you did get a parasite on your first stint to Sudan,
Yeah,
which we didn't get into, and we don't have time for it right now.
Yeah, my ass didn't need that fucking trauma again. It only just stopped itching. That's actually the fucking thing I left in the desert is a goat horn.
Oh, really?
I used to scratch my ass. Yeah, after that parasite, my ass was itchy, but fuck, it was bad.
You picked up some fucked up thing.
No, I don't know what the fuck. It's desert fucking desert worm.
Camel virus.
No.
I just remember we googled the exact fucking parasite you had, and the little things that were living in your anus looked like little stingrays.
Yes. Fuck.
So you so you slept there for 2 days. You braved 2 or 3 shits in the train spotting toilet.
Yeah.
You guys were in the heat. You had to deal with that heat, although it was going into winter.
No, it's going to summer there now.
Going into summer. Oh,
Yeah,
fuck,
it's
so
northern
hot.
hemisphere. Yeah, super hot. They did put up like some weird shade netting here on the first day we sat there, but they put it up late in the day, and so it didn't really. It helped for sure, but most of the day we sat in the sun.
It's amazing.
We saw cool fish here. It was
Well,
like
it's not amazing, but it's...
It was like standing here watching the fish. There was lots of fish activity in here.
Was there a lot of fish, even in this canal?
Yeah, like little bait fish
Nice.
being chased.
So you sat there for 2 days, and eventually they told you guys, you're leaving. We're leaving.
They called us. A guy was screaming. He was walking around going, Bangladesh, Kenya, Canada, Russia, South Africa.
All the countries that Saudi Arabia had accepted.
All the people with passports that had been there.
Okay.
Then this guy hands you your passport. You see your stamp. Then they send you to a bus. And the buses were all parked over here. In the street. This street was a fuck up. It looks nice now. There was just litter everywhere. There were refugees all here. Not even just inside here. The people were sleeping here on this corniche here.
Jeez.
Under these trees. In the street. So this bus took us from here. It drove along this street. Bloop, 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 and came in here. And then it parked right here. And then we got out, and there's a tugboat actually. We got onto a tug. Then the tug drove us all the way through here. Chick, somewhere out to sea here. Even further maybe. Don't know, it was somewhere here. And that's where the warship was waiting for us.
The Saudi Arabian warship.
Saudi Arabian warship. Yeah.
And you guys got off of that boat and onto the Saudi Arabian warship. In the and they welcomed you. The military guys were like, "Hey guys."
Everyone, all the staff on the boat, everyone welcomed us. They were very friendly, very, very friendly.
And did they have food and water for people?
Yeah, they gave us they rolled out the red carpet. Quite literally, there was a red carpet, and there was tables set up with some fruit, water, chocolates. Then they gave us 3 meals on the whole trip. Fucking lekker lamb. Yes, they made this lamb the first meal we had. It was like lamb chops, but not like we have like big. What do you call it? They're not cut off yet.
Not lamb shanks.
No, it's like a normal lamb chop, like a loin chop.
Yes.
But it's not been cut into chops like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's usually it's a nice thing to
Like
sort of
a
slow
roast.
cook or roast. Yes, exactly.
Yes.
I know exactly. And the bones are all like
Yes.
sticking out of it.
Yes, it was lekker.
They cooked you that.
Yeah. Yes, it was
That's
nice.
quality, eh?
A big lamb eaters, the Middle Eastern people. That's what I came to notice. A lot of lamb they eat.
And they made that for you on the warship.
Yeah, 3 meals that we ate in their canteen. like they had 2 canteens in the ship, and we went there, sat in, spoke to the people around us, chowed. Then we spent most of our time on the back of the boat just watching, checking what's happening, enjoying the breeze.
And you said you saw a pod of dolphins?
Yeah, we did.
No whales?
No, I don't know. I'm not sure if there are whales in the Red Sea.
I think there are whales. It's pretty much got everything. And then where did you arrive in Saudi Arabia? Where did that warship dock?
So,
And how many nights did you spend in Saudi Arabia?
not even a night. We just spent a couple of hours.
Okay.
So we went to Jeddah there. So we went
So
from Port Sudan to Jeddah.
Do you know how many hours you were on the ocean for?
14. It should have taken 6, but we couldn't dock there at night. So they slowed the ship down and waited. So drove through the night. So we got there at sunrise.
Wow.
But I think it was also to do with the media, because we had lots of fucking media on the boat interviewing people, taking videos. So bit of a publicity thing for Saudi, which...
But they did a good thing.
Yeah, no, they did an
eh?
amazing thing. Because they were very good.
There's Jeddah. Also very tropical. Color of the water,
It's
beautiful.
the same.
It's the same as the other side.
Very, almost identical to Port Sudan. Just a lot
But when
cleaner.
you get there, can you tell it's a completely different land?
For
You've
sure.
left Port Sudan, you've left the continent of Africa, because this is now Asia.
Asia, yeah. The
Is
Middle
it
East.
completely different?
Yeah, way different. You can see there's...
The architecture immediately different.
No, architecture is similar-ish, but it's just a lot cleaner. Things are built, and there's proper tar roads that are maintained. You can see it's just a wealthier country. Or it might not even be a wealthier country. It's just the country who manages their wealth better than what Sudan does.
Wow.
Yeah, then we docked in here. But this port is fuck. It was so big. What the hell's going on now?
You're marking an area.
No, it's a map. No, the naval base is here somewhere. Yeah, we parked in here, or somewhere here, I'm not certain now. So then we got on there, and then we got escorted out by these big military, or greeted by military personnel. It was quite nice.
So you said you were here for just a few hours.
Yeah, we got picked up. We went
Was
there.
everything smooth? Like you arrived,
Smooth.
got off the ship, they got cameras waiting for you?
Yeah, then the South African embassy people were there with flags, and they greeted us, and that picture went all over the news of us holding the flag.
Awesome.
And then from there we had to go through customs. So they took us to from the naval base to the commercial port, or where people, like the people port. What would you call that? People port. But the people coming in and out of the country via sea. That's like the customs. It's like
ocean customs.
Yeah,
I
ocean
guess.
customs. Yeah. We went there, scanned our part. Got an entry visa into Saudi.
Cool.
Got onto a bus, and the bus took us to a hotel. We got to the hotel at about 12 o'clock, and they said there's lunch is being served free. We had actually a suite in the room for all 4 of us, but we didn't need to sleep, so we just went in there, had a shower because we hadn't showered in 3 days. It was stinky.
Yeah.
So what we did was, Dwayne and I, we had a shower, and then we went down to the sauna, and we sat in the sauna for 30 minutes in the hotel.
Why did you miss the heat?
No, it was just, we just decided to sweat out all the dirt we had. We've been grimy, so we said, let's just get it out. So we sat down and we...
Yeah, and a sauna is great. Even me this morning, I went to the gym early and sat in the steam room, and there's also just something nice mentally about it. Especially after that traumatic experience, because that's some traumatic shit. Like, we sit here and we're laughing and we're joking, but that was some real stuff that you went through.
Yeah.
It's, it's not play. So I'm sure it was nice to sit in there and relax and get some endorphins going, some heat shock proteins.
Yeah, it was good to know where you're going. That was a big thing.
For 2 days because for a long time you had no idea.
No idea. It was nice to get moving.
And then you flew out of Saudi Arabia a few hours after arriving there, and you flew to
Dubai.
You flew to Dubai.
Spent 9 hours there, layover.
9 hours.
Had a couple of beers in the bar. It was really lekker just to forget about all the shit. Wind down with the 4 guys that now we've become so close.
Gone through this with. Yeah, the camaraderie between you guys must have been quite special.
Yeah, it's definitely, we've become quite a good team out there.
Yes. How many hours were you in Dubai for?
9 hours.
And then you flew from Dubai with Emirates.
Emirates, yeah.
To Johannesburg.
Yes.
And let's play a video of that. Let's I'm sure if you look on YouTube, we can find a video of Jonathan arriving from Dubai fact, the moment I was very surprised. I was watching ENCA, in fact, because I knew they were, or Mom told me they're providing coverage. And there they are. You can actually see Mom.
That's how I must try and find.
Indeed, there you are. Update. First group. Yeah, play this one. This one's cool.
Do you know what's hiding in your business's data? Companies of all sizes.
I don't have YouTube Premium yet.
I've been evacuating Tambo. Tonight, Kailihle guarding around the South Africans who arrived after 4 o'clock, and it seems like they're now coming out into the terminal. 10 people evacuation and help. Contact Kailihle.
Of a very long story as finally about 10 South Africans who were stuck in a conflict in Sudan are finally here. So I'm just going to get a reaction from Jonah. I'm so sorry, Jonah, to just put you on the spot, but tell me, you're finally back in the country. How are you feeling?
No, very good, very relieved. It was a long wait in Sudan. We're grateful to be back, and just thanks to everyone that helped us get here safely. Just a huge relief, but it's like I said to the guys before, it's with a heavy heart that we left Sudan. We're doing some exciting work there, and we really hope that they sort out their situations and then we can get back there and continue working.
Tell us about those moments. I mean, we saw, all kinds of skirmishes and, the conflict in full swing. How are you guys coping under such precarious environment? Highly unpredictable as well.
Well, luckily for us, we were in Port Sudan for the entirety of the situation, because that's where we're based. But on the first 2 days, there were a lot of fighter jets flying around Port Sudan and bombing the RSF bases. So luckily we were on the outskirts of that, but we could still hear the bombs and hear the shooting. But what can you do? You're in a situation like that, you just got to hunker down and be positive as you can and try and get out on the other side.
And what's the first thing you're going to do? You're back in South Africa now.
I'm going to light a fire and have a braai.
Well, I thought as much. So, Frans.
And that's what we did.
That's beautiful. That's exactly what you did. We what did we buy that night? Chicken wings.
Chicken wings, yeah.
And they were amazing.
A couple of Windhoek lagers.
John, I can't think of a better way to end it. I know we wanted to talk about some of those rocks on the table there, but we are a little bit pressed for time, and
that's fine.
And this podcast has been going for probably 2.5 hours already. We didn't think we would run for this long, but it's we might have to do a part 2.
Yeah.
Depending on our schedules, to definitely get more into some of your favorite rocks that you brought along there with you. I would have loved to have done that today, but we can definitely do a part 2. Thanks for doing this. It was. What did you think of it? What do you think of the setup?
No, it's cool. It goes by a lot quicker than you realize. I always thought it would take time and feel long, but it's not. It's
just goes, especially when you keep it cash.
Yeah. Just talking shit.
It's lekker. So yeah, it's been good. Let's end it off there. Thank you everybody for listening. Please make sure that you hit that subscribe button. Please like this video. Please share this video. Please stay tuned for part 2 of this podcast, because I definitely feel we have to have a part 2. Please stay tuned for more interesting podcasts coming your way. And thank you. It's been fascinating talking to you. It's been nice having some footage and reflecting on Postmasburg and your whole journey.
Yeah, it was lekker.
Was it lekker seeing some of that?
Yeah,
some of that footage. Cool, man. Let's end it there. Thank you everyone for watching. We're gonna go grab a steak now.
Lekker.
Are we gonna go get a steak?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, unless you've got any commitments.
No, nothing.
Whatevs, everyone. Lekker. Thank you.
All right.
Hit that subscribe button. John, I don't know if there's anything you want to say.
That's it, bud. Enjoy it. Thanks a lot.